I've been performing a long time. I've gained a lot of notoriety in my field. I do a lot of shows. I do both magic and mentalism, and I've always struggled with what I am, a magician or a mentalist. I went back and forth between magic and mentalism, sometimes leaning toward magic, sometimes leaning more toward mentalism, and then I had an epiphany. I realized I already had the best of the best in being able to choose from both worlds. Mentalism is less about physical skill, but more about presentation, framing, and strategy. So let me ask you this. If you're a magician's magician, you're really into magic, why should you get into mentalism? A lot of people ask me that. Why should I get into mentalism? I don't want to be into this hocus pocus kind of mind stuff. Well, the answer is simple. If you do magic, don't you want to take your magic to the next level? And you can do that with the principles of mentalism. Think about it like this. You're a magician, let's say. You entertain the heck out of people. You have fantastic storytelling abilities. You're able to fool people. You're able to trick people. And certainly with all kinds of crazy stunts that people do with magic, you're able to impress them. But with mentalism, you can also hook them psychologically as well, and you bring your magic, the entire experience, to a much, much higher level because they're experiencing things in their mind that's different from spectator to spectator because they're making up stuff, they're believing things that weren't even there before. I mean, it's a much, much higher level. So you're combining many, many more elements. And why wouldn't you want to do that with your magic? It's not about switching from magic to mentalism. It's about maybe even combining them, which is what I do most of the time. Putting magic and mentalism together so I get the best of both worlds. Why not? I take my magic and my mentalism higher because I have all these different techniques and tools to draw from and different ways of creating experiences for my spectators. Yeah, we're going to try this. Do me a favor. Notice that, like, up here we have this this album CD cover, right? Over here some crayons, right? Yeah. Here's a water bottle, right? Yeah. Not a big deal. Here's your other buddy right here. Lots and lots of food choices, right? Got a fan over here, right? We got my backpack. Do me a favor, just pick something in your mind real quick. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, do me a favor. Don't tell me anything. We're gonna try this. If you would, focus on something. Anything in the world. Just think about something. You got it? Mm-hmm. Focus on it. Think about this thing, you think about your thing, all right? At this very moment, don't change your minds. You got it? Perfect. I like your watch. I might take that later.
Maybe, yeah.
Cool.
You can do some magic on it. Yeah.
We're going to try this. I want to write some clues on here. I don't know what you guys are thinking of. Right this very minute, do not change your minds, okay? Are we good?
Yeah.
This is something I would know. This is something I would know, right? It's nothing weird, like something weird, or, something I have to go to Africa to figure out, right? This is normal, right? Right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We would know what this is, right? Fantastic.
Right.
Nothing clever, okay?
Right.
If I took this piece of paper and I turned to her and I said, think of anything in the world, and say you thought of a cat, and I put this here and I started writing, and I started dabbling some notes like animal, I got a vibe of animal, friendly, et cetera, and I put this in, let's say, your pocket. And I said, for the first time, what were you thinking of? And you said, cat. And I pulled that out, and those clues are on there. That would be pretty damn good, right? I'm not going to know exactly what you guys are thinking. That's impossible. But through a process, I can figure out close. That's what I'm talking about. So we're going to start with you. Check this out. Focus on your object. You got it? And this isn't a person, is it? This is not a person. This is an actual object, like a vase or a house, right? It's tangible, correct? Yeah. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. If you would, focus on if this thing is very valuable or important to you, or if it's just an everyday thing, okay? You got it? It's an everyday thing, right? It's just a normal everyday thing. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. What I want you to do is zone in a little deeper. Focus on, like, the shape of this thing, right? Does it have a distinct shape? Mm-hmm. It does. So it's not like some obscure thing like universe or love. This is a tangible, actual object, like a Coke bottle or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. This is something small enough to touch and hold. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. If you would, focus on it. I want to write some very basic clues down. And do you have a shirt pocket I could borrow, anybody? No? Okay, that's all right. Check this out. Look right here. Look inside there. It's empty, right? Feel around. Please feel. Empty, right? Yep. I'm going to borrow this. I'm not going to switch. I'm not going to do any funny business. I'm going to write some very basic clues down, and we're going to come back to you in a minute, okay? So focus on it. You got it? Think about the shape? Yeah. Perfect. We're going to try this. Fantastic. I love it. If you were to make this into a word, think about that word and how many syllables in it, like superstition. You got it?
Yep.
You got it? So it's a medium-sized word. Okay, we're going to try this. Do me a favor. Focus on it. Okay. I'm going to put this in my pocket. Look, right here. Done. I'm not going to switch it. I am done. What was your object? Tell us. A car. Fantastic. I want you to get more specific. Not yet. Not yet. It's in my pocket, I'm done. But check this out, I want you to think about that car. Think about if it's 4 doors, 2 doors, what direction it's going, who's in the car, what are you doing, why are you driving, you know, et cetera, okay? Focus on it. We're gonna go to you, if you would. Think about your object. Think about it. You got it?
Yeah.
Perfect. This is gonna be interesting. I'm kind of seeing a vision of a couple things, like a couple choices. This could be anything, so I want you to help me out here. Think about if, for instance, it's this water bottle. Focus on bottle. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, make it simple, like whatever it is. If it's, you know, pancakes, it's breakfast. You know, just keep it one simple word. You got it?
Yeah.
We're gonna try to do this. Focus on the general shape of this type of thing. You got it? Fantastic. Yeah. This is something you can hold in your hand, right?
Yeah.
I love it. Fantastic. If you would focus on a general letter that it would pertain to this object. You got it?
Yeah.
We're going to try this. Oh, this is really tough. Does a P make sense? Does a P make sense? I'm picking up like S's and P's. Does that make sense? Does it?
S's and P's.
Okay, we're gonna try it. X's and P's. Okay, we're gonna try this. Check this out. Look. I want to draw a very basic object. Perfect. I'm gonna put this in my pocket. Look, right here. I'm not gonna do anything else. I'm done. For the very first time, what was your object?
That salt thing over there.
Oh, salt and pepper. Fantastic. Salt and pepper. Oh, that makes sense. Salt and pepper. Salt and pepper. That makes dude. That makes sense. Yeah, that was awesome. Check this out. We're not done. What was yours? What was yours?
BMW.
What was it? A car. Okay. This car, was it head on? Was it to the side? What was
the side.
To the side.
Yeah.
Okay. If you were driving, which direction would you be going?
Left.
So you'd be going that direction.
Yeah.
Watch very carefully. Nothing in my hands. Do me a favor. Reach inside my pocket. Take those out. Put them on the table. Put them on the table. Look. Nothing in my hands. Watch. Look. Look. Car going that direction. Look. Salt and pepper.
I'm out of here. That is crazy. No, that is really crazy. That is crazy.
It's just a little bit crazy. Yeah.
A little bit. That's really crazy. You just read my mind, man.
That's what I do for a living.
Wow.
All right, let's get into visions. This is a really killer trick. This is one of my all-time favorites, and what I love about this is it's fun to do, it's really powerful, it involves a lot of clever thinking, it packs down small, it's a couple pieces of paper and a paper clip. It doesn't get more simple than that. It's very direct, very organic, and you get to hand out your business card when you do the trick, which is pretty cool. Now this involves several different principles I've put together. I'm just going to break down a couple ideas so you understand ahead of time what's going on. There's a one-ahead principle that's taking place, but it's done in a very clever way. There's a new technique I like to call miswriting, which is writing bits of information of one prediction from another without them even knowing it. And there's another principle of using a paper clip that actually lets you switch cards in their pocket. So this one is verified. This is spectator number 1. When I stick this other one in the pocket, they actually will switch mechanically. And putting this all together at the end, it's really powerful. It really flies over people's heads. So we're going to do a trick together. We're going to do a mock trick. Let's just pretend we're performing for a group. And we have 2 people here, and I'm going to use these. I'm going to walk you through it as we go. And at the end of the trick, we're going to get into all the subtle extra bits that we're going to be able to put together to make this really powerful, different ways to force, things like that. But for now, I just need to get the concepts and kind of just the structure of the effect, because it can be a little bit tricky at first, but once you get it, you'll see how deceptive this is and how easy it is. So let's get into it. This is how you start out. 2 business cards and a paper clip. It's important that you put the paper clip orientated so the small piece, the tab here, is sticking on the side where you're writing. It gives you a little bit more room to write. And in addition to that, when you stick this in the pocket, the large piece is going to help hook the other card conveniently. So start off with 2 business cards, paper clip. The one with the paper clip is the one you start with always, because you need to put it in the pocket so it can receive the other card. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. So we have 2 cards, two spectators. Person on your left, person on your right. The person on your left, spectator number one, you're going to force a word of some sort. And don't get all disappointed yet. There is a lot of really clever stuff coming up. This will fly right over their head. You're going to force this in any way you want. We'll get into that later. But let's just say, just for sake of argument, I did some book trick and I forced the word cat. So this person's word is cat. Meanwhile, I turn to this person and I say, think of anything in the world. I won't even know what this is. I won't know at all. This is a legitimate, free thought. But for now, I want you to know it's going to be dog, because it's going to help us in this process. So it's cat and dog. Doesn't get more simple than that. This person's over here, this person's over here. I turn to the person always that I know nothing of. This is very important. I know nothing of this person. And I really try to concentrate and play 20 questions and derive what looks to be hits. But what I'm really going to write is, of course, spectator number one's word. So cat. So I turn to them, I say, focus on your word. Is it something large, small, tangible, et cetera, et cetera? And the different teachings will show you how to use this kind of stuff. But I'm essentially just going to write cat. So let me just write cat. Phase one is done. I've put this on here. I don't show it to anyone. I put it in my pocket. Now there is some psychology I'm going to show you later where you can actually flash it to someone and kind of like false verify it. But I'm going to stick this right in my pocket, facing me, or in a spectator's pocket, facing them. So this card is in a pocket. They believe I guessed at what they wrote. And then I turn to them, I say, now that it's safe, for the first time, what was it you were thinking of? And this part's really, really clever because there's another deceptive principle, kind of a premise I'm going to teach you in a minute. What were you thinking of? And they tell me, dog. Well, now I'm going to write dog. But first, I'm going to say, well, this is safe in their pocket. We're going to show it to you in a minute. But while you're thinking of your dog, think of something specific. What kind of dog? What was it doing? Was it playing frisbee? Was it eating? Does it have a collar? Get really specific, and we'll get back to you in a minute. Then I turn to this person, and I do the opposite. So essentially, just to break it down, I'm writing his over here and his over there. That's it. But the way it's structured when it all comes together is really clever. So I turn to spectator number one, and I concentrate, and I say, focus on yours. Think about your word. What does it start with? What's the first letter? Just think about it. And I actually put that letter down because I can. So watch, I put a C for cat because that's what it starts with. This part is so deceptive. And I turn this back. At this point right here, when I do that, this verifies I'm doing what I'm saying I'm doing, but I'm not. So when I turn back this way, I fix it. But they will swear I did what I said I would do because I showed them, see, boom, that's pretty darn clear. So when I turn it around, I finish it off, and this is what it looks like. Behind the scenes, I just go ahead and continue drawing. I make this an O like it should be. I put a D. I put a G. Scribble, do whatever else you're going to do, depending on which word it is, what predictions you're doing, images and whatnot. I alter it. So this miswriting is really, really powerful. Now at this point, I haven't shown anything else. I've just showed the C. But behind the scenes, I've altered it to dog. Now in a spectator's pocket or in my pocket, I take it, I put it in here, and this is what's happening in my pocket. I stick it against the other card, just like this, and I clip it. And it's really easy to do. When you go into the pocket, even into the spectator's pocket and push, it's automatic. You just push against the other card, this hooks, and you push through. And as you push through, watch what happens. It automatically switches right to the other card. And you just leave them sitting there just like that. You don't do anything else. So I'm going to switch it back just to show you one more time. This is how it originally was. You're taking this, you're sticking it into their pocket, and you push and pull, just like this. Pull up with your thumb, push down with your fingers, and it switches. And here's the really killer part. Even if the paperclip was crooked to begin with, very, very crooked, when you stick it in there, it's going to transfer right to the other card crooked, which is really killer. It really gives that image. So they're back in the pocket, now switched. You say, I haven't done anything. I haven't touched nothing. They're in your pocket or whatever it is. What was your word again? They tell you, dog. What was your word again? Cat. And when you bring these out at the end, they're exactly the way they should be. And the paperclip's on the correct card. Now that you have the general concepts, the structure for visions, let me give you a couple more of the fine-tuning points to make this thing really pop. So I have two spectators. When I originally draw the spectator on the right that I don't know anything of, I stick that in the pocket, which is actually spectator number one's answer. then she tells me, or he tells me what it is. At that point, when I draw their word, I add all kinds of embellishments. If it's a computer, I add a chair and a desk, and I try to think, well, what would most likely be the case? If it's a car, it's probably more likely going to be a side profile. If it's, whatever it is, you draw those extra details, and sometimes throw in a couple zingers, really just kind of think, well, this person looks young and hip, and this is probably what I think would be likely to be the case. In the case of a dog, I might put a dog sitting, facing to the left, because I bet if you were to ask people a dog sitting, it would probably more orientate toward the left. Just use common sense and draw extra things, so that when at the end, when you pull those out, before you do, say stop. Before I asked you what your thing was and I told you to concentrate more on it, was there any other details? Was like the dog sitting, kind of lead them? Was it sitting? If it was sitting, was it doing anything? Was it just kind of looking proud, or what was it doing? And then you can fish for different kinds of information, and whenever you're correct, run like crazy with that. And that's just awesome, because when you pull that out of their pocket, you have created images of things that happen after the fact, after your hands are up and clean and you haven't done anything. And that's really a powerful extra way to polish it up. The other thing is, before I even start the trick, I give an example. It's like a premise to this thing. So let me share that with you here, because I think it really ties in psychologically to the framing and the structure of what this trick's about. So when I start off, I always give an example kind of the trick. I say, if I had a piece of paper and I drew anything, let's say you thought of a truck, and I looked at you and I asked you questions and I tried to get into your thought process, and I wrote vehicle, transportation, and I wrote very specific clues down. And I put that in your pocket, and I put my hands up, and I said, for the first time, what were you thinking of? And you said truck, and you pulled that piece of paper out, and it had those clues on it. That would be a miracle. So I set the premise of what could take place, and I put in like a marker in their brain of what is going to happen later. So it doesn't seem fishy when I blatantly write something down, stick it in a pocket, and say, so what was it? Because that comes across a little bit like you're fishing for the information. If you don't do this smooth, this could be done really bad. If you just take two people and say, pick this card, it's a 7 of spades, and you turn to this person, think of anything, you got it, you write 7 of spades, stick it in a pocket, what was yours? And then move on. It's not enough. You need to really make this tie together and make it really believable, and then it really is, because you add these extra elements and this thing will fry people, it really will. So the premise, setting this up to begin with, is a really smart thing to do, because then it sets the stage for what is going to come. It's exciting because you might not fail. It makes sense if you're kind of close or not really, exactly on. It puts that marker in their brain as far as what they're going to see later when you put something in a pocket and then you say, now I'm done. What was it? Think more about it, get more details. So everything ties together really well with just a simple sentence at the beginning of what you're going to do. So with visions, like I said, there are a lot of just elements and phases to this thing. Now, when it comes to the first spectator, like I said, you're going to force it in some degree. But let me give you a couple tips. Later in this DVD, we're going to be teaching you all kinds of just subtle ways of polish and presentation and stuff, and you can use that. The other thing you have to keep in mind is in mentalism, you probably already know a ton of different ways to force. You could do this with a forced card and then a freely chosen card. You could do this with anything you want. It could be objects and words or whatnot. We're going to be teaching you some book tricks, and there's different forces that we're teaching you anyways, but anything that you know, it doesn't matter. Anything you want to do. But let me share with you one of my favorite for more of an advanced touch to this. And this is so fun. I do this at cocktail parties all the time. I love to lead people and talk about mistakes in mentalism. This thing is full of them, and I'm going to show you how cool it is. So let's just say I'm in a room with a bunch of people, and I pick a couple of people aside. I say, you want to try something really crazy? Do me a favor. Think of an animal right now. What is it? They tell me. Do me a favor. Think of, whatever, and they tell me. The reason I do that is to get them on the page with me as far as following instructions. It gives me an opportunity to see, are they going to be a pain in the butt, or are they going to do what I ask? And it lets me know how well they're led. And if I get people that they're just right on it, they do exactly what I say, and when I say it, they're going to be awesome for this. I have about a 99% rate on this thing. I'll turn to spectator number 1, and I'll literally lead them to what I wanted to pick. Let's just say over here on my right, behind spectator number 2, is a really prominent painting or an exit sign or a lamp or a vase or a wine bottle, something that it's pretty easy to point at. And I will lead them around the room psychologically. I'll say, check this out. There's a million things in here. For instance, we got this escape sign over here. We got this stairway over here. This really cool piece of art. Oh, there's this funny looking dude. Over here we've got, and I point, ding, 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 giving examples. Oh, this beautiful stained glass window over here. Just point, and just go around in a circle. And this is what's really cool. It's a timing thing. A lot of my mentalism is based around subtle timing and pushes and pulls. So I go around in a circle, boom, 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 saying stuff. Got the camera, I've got this guy, I've got this thing. Just pick anything in the world. I don't care, just pick something. And I subtly just point. And it's unbelievable how powerful it is. There's a purse, there's a stack of cards, there's a chair. Just pick anything you want. And I look, and my energy is, and it sounds silly, but my energy just kind of does this. And it's like I just shove my energy at that. You don't want to just say, there's this, there's this, there's this. Hey, just point, just pick anything in the world. It doesn't matter at all. It's a little obvious. It's got to be done in a more of a subconscious way, like you don't give a hoot. So it's like, check this out. We have the camera, got this fire alarm, got these lights. Oh, this beautiful woman over here with that purse. If you would just pick anything you want, and you've conditioned them to go dink, 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 boom. And they're being rushed. You want to get to the trick. It's a crowded room. Their mind is not going to be able to process much more. You've already given them 3 or 4 examples. They want to kind of, at this point, just, they don't know what they're doing, so they're not going to try to make it difficult. There's no reason for them to make it difficult. They're not going to go, okay, the reflection of the head of that screw, they're not going to do that. They don't even know what you're up to yet, especially when you just started off with, hey, think of something, got it, boom, what is it, what is it? I'm just trying to feel you guys out. There's no reason for them to pressure you. So that's a really killer way to completely 100% improv this trick. So I go around, boom, they pick remote control. I write over here to this person's freely thought of word, I write remote control, the trick continues. Now in the case of doing this free flow style, if one of them's wrong, I'm telling you, 50% right and mind reading is pretty darn good anyway. So if I am missing with the force, and at the end of the trick, I say, what were your words? And one of them's wrong. My point is, it's mentalism. If you're off a little bit, you still got one. And that's pretty cool. And the one that you got, they actually told you. So I've had that happen to me a couple times, and I don't even sweat at all. I just move right on to the next trick, and these people still talk about it. They're like, that's crazy. I mean, you didn't get remote exactly right, but you know what? I looked at the remote. I was gonna pick it. And they sit there and they argue about it like I was really in their head, and I still get credit for the person who actually told me their prediction. So there you go. Now with all effects in mentalism, there's a little bit of crowd management. In this case, there's one other thing you need to be really careful of, and I'm just going to give you this tip right now so you can avoid it and never make the mistake. Be really careful that they don't pencil read you. And what I mean by that, if you're sitting there concentrating on this person and you're writing something that they think that you're writing cat, but you're writing dog, you could be seen pretty easily doing DOG. So be very conscious of that and purposely make lines that don't exist. Like you're drawing and coming up with hash marks and you're making notes. And that goes back to that premise again. The premise said you're going to do all these crazy extra things. You're going to come up with things that are close to what they're thinking of. So it makes sense to throw extra things on here. It really does. So I actually purposely write other clues and cross things out like I was struggling and I came up with choices and I'm like, no, I think it's that one. So be careful if it's especially simple words or objects. Be careful that you're not caught obviously drawing a ball if their word was a car and vice versa. So do some false drawing as well, and just be careful of the fact that from that side, if someone's really sharp, they can see what you're doing. Do you believe in energy, like a connection of the universe and souls and people, right?
Energy, yeah. We're talking about
energy. And I'm going to try to tie this all together. We're talking about photography. We're talking about energy. We're going to do something very, very special for you guys, okay? Do you believe that if you had a special ring, something that you lived your life with it? Yeah. Don't you believe that someone else, if they are in tune enough, could touch this and go, this isn't just metal. Yeah. This is special to somebody. And it gives it almost an energy. There's a trace element of energy, right? Yeah. I'm very susceptible to that. I'm a very emotional person. This is how I am. I'm wired that way. So I've been around the world and I do examples of this art called psychometry, which is if something's special to you, you can hide it, and I can use energy, and your energy guides me to it because you want to be back with it. Does that make sense? So we're going to try a simple experiment. I want to try this with you. I'll start with you. Okay, do me a favor if you would. Without letting me see. It's very important. Don't let anyone else see. What I want you to do is just put something on there, anything you want. Don't let me see, though. An animal. Don't let me see. Flower. Something that's just a word you like. Just put something on there and do not let me see it. Just do it. And when you're done, you're going to put it face down inside of here.
It can be like anything?
Anything you want. Anything. Just don't let me see. You're letting me see.
Wait, do I have to draw a picture or a word?
I don't care. It doesn't matter. Just don't let me see, please. You're letting me see it.
Oh.
Yeah, that's very important. Otherwise, this trick kind of sucks if I can see what you're doing. And then I tell you.
Okay.
Put it face down here. I'll do it. Look, just inside of here. Watch.
Oh.
Watch.
Okay.
Perfect. Here's what I want you to do. If you would, put your hand on here really flat. Make sure it's down good. And we're going to try the same thing. If you would, you take an envelope, and you take an envelope as well. We're going to try something unique. What I want you to do, if you would, think of something like a person, someone that's important to you, someone that meant a lot to you, someone that maybe mentored you, something along those lines. If you would, think of something like something that's unique, like an object, something that you want, like a new camera or a car. Think about something of value, not so much a person, but an item of some sort. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I want you to get a very explicit image.
What about me?
Yeah, a person. Just think of anyone in the world, a famous person that inspired you, a family member that inspired you. What I want you to do is write the name here. I'll give you a card. Write the name of somebody important, okay? And if you would do it where I cannot see. And once you're done, stick it in the envelope, face down, seal it up. What I want you to do is the same thing. I want you to think of an object or something like a home or a car, something that is almost like a selfish thing, something you just might want, something you would have a strong connection with, okay? And I want you to put it in there, face down, seal it up yourself, okay? Fantastic.
Face down this way, right?
I need a card.
Yeah, sure. Oh, I didn't give you a card?
No.
There you go. And seal that sucker up. Add it into that pile. Perfect. Take that. Oh, seal it up, please. Seal it up. Okay. Fantastic. Make sure they're sealed. Fantastic. Cool. So we're going to try a very simple experiment. They're in here somewhere. Do me a favor. Just kind of mix them up a little bit. Perfect. All right? Fantastic. Cool. Now this part is the you're shaking your head already.
I'm like, yeah.
You can look up in the light. It's impossible to see inside of these, right? Not a big deal. There's no like trap doors, none of that kind of stuff. It doesn't open up, nothing weird like that, right? We're going to try a really simple experiment. I'm going to start with, I'll start with you. I'm going to try to pick up a little bit of signature trace of some sort of energy, and I'm going to try to figure out if I can find the correct envelope for you. We're going to try this. If you would, just point to one of these. Just point to one. Here. We're going to try this. Focus on your object, if you would. Focus on it. You got it? Now what I did right there was called cheating, because I said focus on your object, and you agreed with me. Therefore, I know it's an object, so that's called cheating. But that's okay. I'm a mentalist. I'm allowed to do that. If you would, focus on the kind of object this is. If it's something you can buy in a store, if it's man-made, something important to you, etc., etc. This obviously isn't anything important to you. You had no feedback at all on that. It's not a wedding ring. It's nothing like that, right? Okay. If you would, focus on the exact kind of object this is and how this could maybe be used. It's more like a utensil, right? Does that make sense? More like a hammer or something you would use with your hand, right? Does that make sense? Okay. If you would, you're smiling, so I must be really close at this point. Do me a favor. We're going to try this. Focus on it one more time. Look at me, though, because you're trying now to avoid me. So focus on me. Focus on the actual object right now and say it to yourself in your mind right here. Just over and over. Say, like, knife. Knife. Say it in your mind. You got it? Is it knife? Fantastic. Was that what it was? I love how she's like trying to avoid me. It's just so funny.
I didn't write specifically what it was. It was
the thing that's interesting is when I put this in front of you, I just have to say this. When I put this in front of you, I actually didn't have an idea. And usually when I usually put it, I usually have a gut idea of like, it's generally something selfish or a person. But you, it's like knife. It's like, it's so generic.
I'm a good friend of hers, and I know that you're so good that she loves knives. And so there's no way you could have got like just, you know what I'm saying? That's blowing my mind.
It's a global, like, That's not serrated, but it has the like dents in it where it like lets go of the vegetables. But it's
Oh,
a
right.
vegetable.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense to be able to do
That's what I want
that,
for my birthday.
Okay, we'll try you, if you would. Focus on yours. And this is I'm sensing, it's a guess, but we're gonna see if we get it right. I'm sensing this could be yours, and I'm thinking it's probably gonna be obviously a person because I told you to do that, but the significance of this person is what's really, really hard. This is really, I don't know. Is yours related to photography?
Yeah.
Okay, this is where I'm getting thrown off because I get images, and I'm going to explain later why I said what I said. It'll make perfect sense.
Okay.
This will make perfect sense. But focus on it. You got it?
Yeah.
It's another camera of some sort? Is it? But it's not like a digital it's not a video camera, is it? Okay. So since you're a photographer, it's more you're thinking of a camera.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Is it a Canon? No, I'm just asking. I'm curious. Is it a Canon?
Yeah.
What kind of Canon is it?
D15.
So it's a camera.
It's a
Fantastic. This was real. I actually had you guys confused. I really did. I really, really did. And I'm going to explain something to you here for a second. This is actually kind of a fluke. This usually doesn't happen, but I have two down. And when you're doing this kind of stuff, usually about a 50% success rate is world class because it's mind reading. I mean, give me a break, right?
Yeah.
So we're down with you. Focus on your person. If you would, focus on the type of person this is, if it has any influence in your life or whatnot. And is this person more musically inclined? Do you know who it is?
He knows.
See, you guys know each other. This is really, I shouldn't have picked you guys. This is freaking me out. You guys are like mind readers in yourselves. Why is this person so significant to you?
I don't know. I kind of relate to.
You relate. So it's probably you're moved by this person in some degree?
Yeah.
Is it because of words? Is it words? Yeah. Is it touches you because of your life or just in general, like you relate to that?
The words, like
the words.
you said.
Yes, okay.
Wow.
So it's not an author, though. It's not a book writer. No. So it's a musician of some sort, then, obviously. Okay. You know who it is. Is this like his favorite or something?
Yeah.
So Jay-Z? No, wait. I just curious. Wait.
That's impossible. Oh, shit.
Yeah. So, hey, I'll tell you what. Check this out. Look. You can have that. You can have that. Don't worry about it.
God, no.
Is it Jay-Z, really?
Yeah. It is Jay-Z. Oh. I guess
Psychometry prediction is a great effect utilizing 3 envelopes and 3 pieces of paper. Essentially, 3 spectators draw whatever they want, they put them in the envelopes, you shuffle them up, and without even looking, you're able to use energy to figure out whose envelope is whose. After that, you rip them open one by one, and you can reveal before you show them exactly what they wrote. Pretty cool. There's a few things you have to create. There's a small gimmick, and this is really in effect more about choreography than it is memorization and different kinds of mentalist kind of efforts. So I'm going to show you the different mechanical placements and the things that you're going to do in this effect and how you can get away with this thing and show you how to build the gimmick and get into the process of the effect. So before we get into the psychology and the mechanics of the entire effect, let's build the gimmick. You're going to have 3 envelopes to hand out to your spectators, one of which is gimmicked, and it lets you get one ahead. This is using the one ahead principle with a twist. So this is a classic type of envelope gimmick that I learned out of a Tarbell book years and years ago. I've altered it and I'm using it in a totally different kind of a way, and I think you're going to see how this all ties together. So here's the gimmick. You're going to need some basic supplies. I'm using these I got from Staples. These are just number 3 coin envelopes. The size of them is great for holding business cards. They're just big enough to hold a business card and yet still let your fingers get inside the envelopes to pull the business cards in and out. It's also not too big that once you're in your pockets, they're hard to manage. This is a great size envelope. The thickness is great. You can't see through them. They're ordinary, and you can get tons of them for cheap. So that's what I use. And you're going to need a pair of scissors. And I have a glue stick in case you want to be really particular about this thing. I don't even use this. I'm just going to show it to you in a second, like how when you glue the flaps together, this makes it perfect. It's not even necessary, but I'm just going to show it to you. Making this is a simple, simple task. Let me show you how you do it. You're going to take one envelope, and you're just going to cut this flap off. That's it. Watch. straight across right there. And don't leave any of this extra bending material. Cut all that off so it's nice and straight and clean. Put that aside. You're going to take an additional envelope. This is trash. And at this point, this thing I'm going to do right now, you might want to do a dozen of these and just have them set aside, because this is the key gimmick that you're going to use every time you do the trick. The rest is reusable, so watch. Just cut inside here at this fold, inside here at that fold, and you're only doing that so you can peel this back to expose this, because what you're going to do is remove this tongue, this flap, with a little bit of a, okay, let's see, fold this back. What you're essentially going to do is salvage this flap with a little bit of a guide right here that you're going to cut out, and I'll show you how to make that. At about maybe a 15-degree angle, just give a nice little slice on each end, starting exactly at the fold of the flap. Bend those little guys back, and you've exposed what you can cut right here. You're going to cut this off at about, between 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch. And I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do. This distance needs to be long enough that when you put this together, there is not a piece showing right there. If you cut it to where there was that showing, it would be not long enough. So obviously, if I cut this as only of 1/8 inch depth, and I put this inside of this gimmick that we're creating, it would not go in deep enough to hide the fact that this is not just a continuous back of an envelope. If you stick it in all the way, you can see that the length that I've done this, that looks like a regular envelope, and that's what we're shooting for. So this is the envelope. You've cut the tip off, just the tongue, and this is the little gimmick you've made. So all you do is apply this to a regular envelope, and you're set to go. All I do is lick it, and I stick it on there, and I just make sure it's squared up. Close enough. Press it on, and I'm done. A couple tips. This is just, standard old just stick glue. And if you really feel like the kind of envelopes you have feel like these will maybe lift up a little bit on the corners because it's only glued where I licked, you can apply this and stick this on here as well to make it like super perfection. I never use it. It's an extra step that's not even required because this goes over people so fast. It's just to help slide a prediction in and out of an envelope. And I'll show you how this works in a second. So the full gimmick, one envelope with a little extra tongue added to it. The envelope with the tongue flap missing slides onto this little receiver here, and that's your gimmick. Now when this is put together, the way it works is it goes with another stack of envelopes. This is how you start the effect off, a stack of envelopes just like this. And that looks really darn fair. You might think, oh wait, there's this big old flap. Well, think about it here for a second. Let's remove this for a second. This is the big double flap, and this is now a stack of envelopes. If you had a picture of these next to each other, they would be identical. So don't sweat the fact that there's something going on over here and there's this double flap. No one's going to know about it. So if I close this back up and I put this on top, as long as that envelope on the top without the tongue is pushed up all the way, then you're set to go. If you leave it like this, then it's going to look suspicious. So that's about the only thing you have to be careful of. Get that thing up in there. That looks pretty darn good. That's convincing. So now we'll get into the orchestra, I guess you could say, the choreography and the strategy behind this effect, and I'll show you how to utilize this to get one ahead. Here's the placement and setup of the business cards and the gimmicks in your pocket. This is very, very important. When you start off, here's the gimmick without the lid, the flap, and here's the gimmick with the double flap. You absolutely need to mimic what's happening here with the rest of the trick. You'll see in a second. You need to put a card in here face down. So open up that gimmick and slide a card into this envelope and stick it in there. That's a blank card. You could put Queen of Hearts on there, something that's common. You'll see why later, but just have some writing in case it gets kind of flashed. But for now, just put it in there and we're set to go. Reattach the one without the flap onto this receiver on top, and on top of that goes, face up, a stack of business cards. Perfect. The reason, again, is you have a blank card face down in the other envelope. It's going to mimic exactly what happens with the rest of the envelopes. So watch. This goes into your pocket. It's all together. You could put this in your pants pocket, shirt pocket, jacket pocket, whatever works for you. I like it over here because I'm going to utilize my top pocket for a different phase of the trick. That's it. It seems like a lot so far, but this is just little formalities, getting it all set up and put together. Basically, you have a stack of envelopes and some cards with a small gimmick. So at this point, we're ready to rock and roll. I'm going to walk through an effect with you, really basically, as if we had 3 spectators right here, picking 3 different items, objects, and things. And I'm going to walk you through all the choreography of the handling. So reach into your pocket, pull out your stack, gimmicks on top with all the other envelopes, turn to spectator number 1, have them think of anything. Doesn't really matter what it is. Maybe something he has emotional connection with. Something, doesn't really matter. Spectator number 2, in a moment, not yet, I'm just letting you know, they always think of a person. Always, it has to be a person. Number 3 has to be an object. So you can distinguish between these 2 later when you peek. So you'll see how this all comes together. So watch, spectator number 1. You pull these out and watch how quickly this happens. Do me a favor if you would. Put that in front of them. I put these away immediately. So you'll see this again. I pull these out. I turn to spectator number 1 and I say, do me a favor. Take this card without letting me see. Just write something special down. Just put something on a piece of paper so I can't see it and no one else would know what it is. As I'm saying that, these have already been pushed off. These are going back to my pocket. It's very important. But they go in my pocket just like they came out, facing up and away from me, just like they were before, but now without the envelopes. So it's all one moment. No one even notices you're doing it. And it's not a suspicious thing either. You're just getting them out of the way so you can access the envelope. He's going to write something on here. Let's just say, in this case, he writes the word anything, just to stick with something. Anything. Perfect. Now you instruct him to take this and put it in this envelope face down. Well, of course, they're putting it on this little shell that you've created that's on top. So watch. They take it, they stick it in, boom. And at this point, I usually just lick it and pull this fake envelope, the second one, out. Or if the mood feels right, you can actually go, here, lick it. And you can kind of wipe it at them. That's kind of a funny way to do it. But be careful that they don't grab it to do it, because if they pull, that's going to look really bad. So just make sure you have a good grip on it and you do some good management with them. So here we are, back to where we were. I lick it, and then I pull it out, disengaging it. This is done face down, of course, just like that. I retain their card right in there, pretty slick. And then I seal this. I give it a squeeze, and I put it on the table in front of them, and I tell them to hold it and to send energy to it. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but they're going to really try to really have a connection with this prediction. Then, at this point, you will see that inside of here is a card with a prediction. Pretty slick. So what I'm going to do is take this, I'm going to turn it face down, and I'm literally just going to give other spectators envelopes as well. Well, so you know what? Let's do it with you guys too. It's not a big deal. So watch one more time. It was like this on top. There's the prediction in this top envelope without the top. You're going to turn it over and you're just going to give other people envelopes. That's all you're doing. It's not a move. Don't really think about it like that. So you're just giving other people envelopes. And then you're going to transfer this back to your pocket. And this does seem like a lot of choreographing, but this is so simple. It's all done in one motion. I grab from the top so that when I go to my pocket, this is lined up with the other cards. And when I go to my pocket, I let that card fall out to the back of the other cards. So it's going to be the top of the stack, if that makes sense. So watch. Pretend this is my pocket. I'm going to take this, reach to my pocket, and as I'm in my pocket, I squeeze and jiggle this sucker out. But I'm doing it behind these other cards, okay? Behind, so that when I come back out of my pocket with the cards to give them papers, it's the back card. So watch, it goes back here, and in my pocket, this is what's going on. I leave, and I fish around, and I grab these cards, I come back out. These are gone forever. They're out of the trick. So let me just stick them in my pocket, their history, and now here is what is really killer about the beginning of the choreography. There's several moments this happens. It's so cool. You don't even know what the first person's writing is yet. But instead of peeking in a weird way with an envelope with a slit and it slides out or anything like that, you don't do anything. It's all part of the entire natural handling. So check this out. You bring these up and you say, do me a favor, if you would. Think of a person. Give the next one right off the top. Think of something of luxury, something important to you. And you can even fan these out when you do this. Because what you're going to do at one moment is kick this top one down just a little bit more so you can peek it. And that's pretty darn slick. You've added it onto the top. You come out with blank pieces of paper. You give him a card. You give him a card. And right now, I can actually see anything right here. And that's pretty slick. That's very, very fair. You can be surrounded with this thing. Here's a card. Here's a card. Do me a favor. Think of someone that's important to you, an idol, a family member, someone I wouldn't know. If you would think of an object, something of interest, yada, yada. This keeps this being one type of object and this being something else, so I can distinguish them later. At this point, I peek. Right here, I have multiple times to do this. During the handout, during the talking, or never until I'm coming up to my pocket. And when I'm coming up to my pocket, I could peek. I could even put it in my pocket, and as I'm putting it in my pocket, let them all slide except for the top one and peek down into my pocket as I'm doing it. Very, very easy to do. I'm exaggerating this right here, of course. Very, very easy. At any moment, if it feels comfortable for you, find your rhythm, find this choreography, and know when you're going to do this. But this is what's really cool. It's the top card. It's going to go into my pocket. So I've created this little gimmick so you can see what I'm doing. It's just a baggie, and it's a little harder for me to get in and out of it real quick. Now, if I do this with my pocket, boom, I'm in, boom, I'm out. When I do the switches, they're instant. They're instant. So you'll watch the performances and you'll see how smooth it is. In here, I'm going to fish around for demonstration purposes and have to open up this plastic to stick it in so you can see what I do with the top and bottom cards when I switch them. So again, the top card is the original prediction. It goes into your pocket just as it is. You finished handing them out, put them away. It's so simple. It's one beat. It's not a move. There they go. Done. Next person. Person's name. Watch. I'm just going to write name. They do this on their own. So the first one is almost like some framework or a little bit of marking. You're kind of letting them know, this is kind of what I want out of you guys. Oh, by the way, let's do it with a couple more people. Here, do a name, do an object, whatever. Here, you take the envelopes. That really sells it because those are the last things they're going to remember. This first part of you putting envelopes away, there's nothing to be suspicious about anyways, but as far as the full package, it sells so well because now they're doing it on their own. There's nothing fishy whatsoever. They stick it in, they seal it. Look, they take care of all the work for you. Boom. Next person, they do an object. Let's just say object. Perfect. They put it in, they seal it. And there you go. At this point, you've got 3 envelopes on the table. They are all the same. There's different things in there. They're collected and they are shuffled up. You never even have to look. You let them do it. You watch them in the eyes the whole time, almost like you're picking up information. At this point, you're going to do phase 1 of the tricks. This is a psychometry type of thing. You're going to shuffle these up. You see the parts where the flaps are right here? I orientate them the same, so when they're on the table, just pay attention to where they are. I orientate them the same in a live performance. I do this. I tap it like that to make sure the business cards drop to the bottom. This is just a little extra polish just so you don't have to run into this when you're doing the effect and go, oh, I wish I would have done that. And talk about trace energies and how you can feel just energies of what people had connections with. So like you did something really important, like a person, right? I think this might be it. You did X, Y, and Z, you did X, Y, and Z, whatever. We're going to wing that. This is kind of a free flow type of an experiment, and you can address it up however you want. Then, watch. You can take the envelopes and feel almost like you're thinking. And that first one was the double flap, which is really cool because it's built in that you can feel it. It's so thick. It's 4 layers of paper right here compared to just 2. So just by feel alone, I'm sensing this might be yours. This could be yours. Yeah, and you put it on the table. This one that's the double, just make sure you leave it on the table and you open up a different one first. 2 envelopes are left. Pick one. It doesn't matter. You turn to spectator number 1 and you say, I think this is yours. And now you milk it for all it's worth. You know it's anything. It's already written on a piece of paper. You've already peeked it. You concentrate. Now you've already done one trick, which is you essentially made it look like you found their correct envelope. You milk it for all it's worth. You narrow them down to something. You say, I'm thinking it's anything. Was that what it was? And of course, at that point, they don't even need to see this for proof because you verified it verbally. Of course, that's it. Once you nailed it, I mean, that's it. You're done. But you continue. You go like this. You just open it up as if it doesn't matter, like you're just checking for yourself, like you're curious, like, I just got to see this. Really, you did everything or anything? That's so cool. And you pull it out. Wow, that's so cool, or whatever. At this point, you're reading the next person's prediction. It could be the second person, or it could be the third person's. You wouldn't know until you opened it. And now that I know it's a name, I know it's the second person's. And that's what's so cool about the design of having them pick a person and then pick a thing. So I know this is spectator number 2. So watch, this is what's really cool. You're going to put this in your pocket toward you on the bottom of the pack. So watch, it goes on the bottom. So you've revealed that theirs is anything. You take this prediction, you look at it, you're like, that's so cool. Put it in your pocket. Don't even make a mention of it. Boom, it's in your pocket on the bottom toward you. Done. Now, at this point, this is a really fun misconfirmation kind of a thing. You put it in your pocket and you go, you know what's really interesting? This is fascinating to me because when I put this envelope in front of you and I guessed it was your envelope, I had a very strong feeling it was something like anything. The first thing I thought of was X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. And you make a big deal out of it as you reach in your pocket with no care in the world. And you take the top card. The top card is their prediction. So you pull it back out as you're talking. You're like, this really freaks me out because usually I'm not so accurate. I usually get close, but this is anything. I mean, who does that? It's amazing. And you just flash it like it's casual, like it's no big deal. But this sets in stone, okay, I really did what I just said I'm going to do. This is really cool. Now, when you're done with that, you don't show it and go, see, this is what I had, this is what I had. You're not making a big deal out of it. This is almost like you being excited, like, this is so cool. I'm really thrilled this is working out with you guys. You guys have a great energy. We're having a great connection. You put this back in your pocket right where you found it, on top. So that's one. Now you have so much freedom. This is really cool. Put one envelope aside, you have 2 left. You know the one that's the double. That is last, always. So when I told you before, leave it on the table, just leave it on the table. It's last. You never open it until the end. So you know the next one has to be whatever is left. In this case, it happens to be the object. It's only 2 outcomes, but you know what they are, so it doesn't matter. The physical handling is always the same. That's what's so cool about the way I've designed this. So now you know to turn to the person you've just picked, which in this case is the name. We saw it said name. So watch how cool this is. If it was the object, I would turn to this person with this non-gimmicked envelope, but it, in this case, is the name. So I know to turn toward them and say, focus on yours. You milk it for all it's worth. You eventually reveal, after you've essentially showed them that this is their envelope, which is a cool effect in itself. It's psychometry. So then you turn to them and you say, focus on it. You get it down to whatever back and forth stuff you can do, which we'll get into the lessons later. The talk section of the DVD will show you some fun polishes. You open the sucker up after revealing it, and just like before, open the sucker up, pull it out, be amazed yourself. Wow, now I'm reading object. They just thought I read name, Steve, whatever it was. I put it in my pocket, on top. This goes on top, very important. So right now, you have a prediction on the very back, and 2 on top. So watch. I just put this on top. At this point, I pause again with another little subtle misdirection type of thing, and I say, you know what? This is really, really exciting me because I just got 2 very, very accurately, and you don't have to be exact on these things, but get so close that when you pull it out, I mean, the trick's over. This is really exciting. You know, the best in the world at this only are about 55%, because we're not mind readers, but we're really good at tapping into different neural programming or whatever it is, you know, make up some stuff, talk about percentages. You know what? I could stop right here and this is a miracle. I don't even have to get the third one. But this is so cool. I mean, and as you're saying that, this is what's so cool. Reach into your pocket, and this is the move. This is essentially why I really wanted to have a baggie. You're going to reach in and pull the top and bottom cards out together. Because what have you done so far? You've done one prediction and a second prediction, right? So watch. I reach into my pocket, and I pull lightly, and it drags the top and bottom cards together. The guts in the middle stay. You've probably done something like this with a deck of cards. So watch, lightly pull, letting everything in the middle fall. I pull out 2, and I say, I just nailed 2 of these. The best in the world only are 55%. And you turn them over, and guess what is beautifully placed on the bottom? The way it should be is the person you just did. Turn it back over. Put it back in your pocket on the top. So they've seen what should have been 2 with the thing that just happened right here. This goes on top this time. I removed top and bottom together. Now I put it on top. Here's the final one. In this case, it's this last person. So I just peeked the object, and so I'm looking at him. I go back and forth trying to figure it out. Boom, I nail it. I've given people the correct envelopes, which is cool, and now I have an envelope I'm going to open. They tell me, they verify, yes, I was correct, it's object. I pull this open. I look at it. I put it in my pocket on the back because that's all blank cards, and so is this. I put it on the back, and at this point, I remove the top 3 cards all in one motion. I remove the top 3 cards, 1, 2, 3, is one motion, and this is the killer part. Right off the top of the deck, without doing some weird reshuffling, I hand them back in the order of which they should be handed back out. This should be the last person. This should be the second person here in the middle, and this was the original person. Right in order, completely free of weird shuffling and juggling. The only other alternative to this would have been if these would have been switched. It might have been, or not switched, but this would have been handed out first, then second, then third. This is always the last one. This works itself out automatically during the setup phase. You just try it out, do it 2 different ways, and you'll see how perfect the choreography really is. Practice this sucker. Make 3 simple little envelopes, 3 little cards with 3 different predictions, and just go over the choreography. Don't actually seal the envelopes. Just go over it over and over, and after 5, 6 times, I'm telling you, just the timing of this thing, it'll just work itself out. Don't think so much about what has to be anywhere. Just remember, the first one goes, the first stack you have, there's already one on top. Leave it that way. Just stick it in your pocket. Don't worry about it. The next one goes in the back. The next one goes in the front. You remove both of those top and bottom cards together to show that's 2 so far, which it should be. Put those back on top. Trick's over. Here's a subtle tip about the actual envelopes. I was showing you before how you can just literally look at them the whole time and never even look down at your hands, and you can feel by just shaking the top where there's 4 layers of paper, you can feel that huge thickness, and you can feel that. Again, if the business cards are up toward the top, they all will feel kind of thick and stiff. So I like to tap them on the table to get them to shift down, so this is different than the other 2, because these are thin and flimsy. The one that's a double, this gimmick, if I pop it open, this is the one with that gimmick. It's a lot of extra paper, and you can really feel that. So when you're first starting out, if you really feel uncomfortable about taking it to that level, you might, on the bottom of the first gimmicked envelope, maybe bend that corner back a tiny bit so you have something physical to look for. Maybe put a dot, do something like that. I just like to stay away from the dots and the markings. I just like to feel things. I like to look at people the whole time. It looks really eerie, and it makes me feel like I'm concentrating better and I'm in the zone better. The other thing is, at the end, when you open up the envelopes, as just a little extra polish, you're not going to want to open up the top or rip them off, because you might rip the card and then there'll be a discrepancy because you're switching. So what I do is I just take the time to pop open the bottom, slide the cards out from the bottom of the envelopes, and I leave them on the table, and there's nothing to figure out. No one's going to open these up, look at them. They're not going to look for something like that. The most anyone will ever do is hold it up to the light and just see if they can see through it. That's it. But I wouldn't leave these on the table. I would clean up the trash and be a professional about it. Take away the garbage if you're doing this in walk around or something. And that's about all there is to it. We'll do this across the table, actually. Here, we'll try this. If you would, I'll make this very, very fair. I should have a pen. No, I had one. Oh, here we go. Thank you. Start over. Here's what I'll have you do. Try to do this secretly so no one else can see. And I'm going to have you look through the book again. And here, I don't know if, let's see. Should have one in here. Oh, there we go. You're welcome to use this again to kind of narrow down your choices, or you can open it up, and if you want, I'll have to trust you on this. Go through and make sure you see what you see. The reason we use this window is to eliminate distractions, because people will see a word, and they'll say the word is Easter, and then they'll see bunny, and I'll focus on Easter, and I'll go down, and they'll say at the end, no, my word is bunny, and they forget they picked Easter, because their mind goes down some tangent, right? So as long as you can get a concrete answer, you don't have to use that if you don't want to, but as long as you can get a concrete, concise thing, it could be any word, an object, a picture, a thought, an idea, a formulation, a concept. I don't care. Close the book, straighten it up. We're going to try, oh, no, here's what I want you to do. Don't let anyone else see, especially this guy, because he's in on it. If you would, print on here nice and big. Whatever it is that you're thinking of, keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself.
But print it here?
Yes. And then when you're done, take that off and put it like in your pocket or fold it up so I can't see it and all that kind of stuff. Take it off, take it off. Perfect. And you can look, there's nothing on here. Someone said that there's nothing, it's not that kind of a thing. So we're going to do this, if you would. I'm going to show everyone how fair this is. Look, if I open up the book, you can see inside here. Go ahead and like go through it. You got it? Go through it. Make sure every page is different. Look at the pictures. Show him again. You could have picked anything. Doesn't get more fair, right? Perfect. If you would, the kind of word, object, diagram, whatever it is you picked out of the book, does it have any kind of special meaning to you? Or is it just something you're like, you know what, I like the word the, I'm going to go with it. You know what I mean?
No, it had no meaning. I just saw it.
Does the word have anything about it that's interesting, like a definitive thing? Like it's not a thing, is it? It's not like house, dog, taxi, right? No. It's more just a word, right?
Right.
It's more of a process. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's more of a process. Okay. Yeah. Check this out. This is going to be really cool. It's more of a process. You might help us find the word again. We'll see how good you are. A process. So something more about maybe movement or something about conclusions or something about. Does that make sense? So it's about finality, maybe.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's more like a word like finished?
That's what the word is.
Is that the word?
Yes.
Finished?
Yes.
This is undercover. The reason I call it that is because, guess what? Under the cover is the gimmick. It's literally just a piece of carbon paper facing inwards from the cover and a piece of paper taped to the actual book. And believe it or not, when you give this book to somebody to look up any image, any word, any paragraph, anything they want, and you take a notepad and you say, do me a favor, look through the book, think of anything you want, and you stick a notepad up here that is within the framework of your gimmicked, pad of paper basically below that, your carbon in your paper that's going to transfer to it, sitting on here, and you give them a pen, not a Sharpie, a pen that's sharp enough. You give it to them, instruct them to go over there, think of anything they want, write something down on a piece of paper, remove it, fold it up, keep it to themselves. You have yourself a miracle. This is a really cool gimmick that takes seconds to make, and you can use it anytime, anywhere. Just take a piece of carbon paper and paper, fold it up, keep it in your magic box, you're ready to go. Let me show you how to construct it and a couple little subtle things about it. I've already revealed the secret to this. However, there's a couple tips you want to be aware of. There's different types of hardness of carbon paper, some for written, some for typed. So what you want to do is get a piece of carbon paper so that if you literally just scratch with your fingernail lightly, you should definitely see it on there. And there it is, squiggly, squiggly. This has been in my box, we've been walking around filming this stuff, so it's been shifting in the cars and stuff. So there's a lot of this carbon's kind of been rubbed on here over the last week. However, there are some carbon papers that are actually so hard, you can write on it to the next paper, and that's about all it's going to take. 2 pieces of paper on top, it ain't going to work. So you can almost feel it. The softer ones are softer. They're very pliable and soft. You can rub your finger on it pretty hard, and you'll have ink on your finger. The ones, if you do this and nothing happens, you scratch on it, nothing happens. It's almost like sandpaper. Stay away from it. Now, as far as constructing this goes, I like to take, the carbon papers come as in 8.5 by 11s. They're usually standard sheet size. I cut it in quarters, just right in quarters, so I have 4 sheets. I stack them up, keep them in here, and I'm ready to go. One gimmick will last a good dozen times because when you write on carbon paper, people don't write the same word with the same thickness and the same writing across the same spot. So you actually can get away with this for quite a while if you have like a favorite book. The book I'm using just happens to be a book about influencing people, persuading people, and I like using books with that kind of style. So I use a quarter sheet, and then I do the same thing with a blank piece of paper. So I keep those all together, and there's my gimmicks. Now, I don't even have to really explain this to you. It's kind of a no-brainer, but putting this together, there are actually a couple subtle things you want to keep in mind, because during the performance and how you peak, which I'll show you in a minute, it's important that you actually put this in the top part of the book. So as you can see, I've put this in the top piece of the book. You don't want to put it back down here. Same with the carbon. You want it toward the top, not touching, not down here. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Make sure the carbon is facing the paper and you're set to go. Now I'm going to show you in general kind of a way you would do the trick and why you need to have the carbon paper toward the top. I'm going to write a word on here. I'm going to put rich. So let's say that's what I wrote. And this is what I told the spectator to do. To write this, keep it to themselves, fold it up, hide it, burn it, do whatever they want. So this is mine, it's rich, it's gone. End of story. Now at this point, The book looks clean, everything is as it is. They bring the book back to you, and you use the book as an example to show them what they could have done. This is the point where this is the point where you get to cheat. So watch. You open the book up facing them. You crack this sucker open and say, you listen, you could have picked. And you actually, at this point, I've already peeked. It's right there, I'm looking at it right now. When I did this is not when I peeked. I was just looking at the page to see what you saw. So you open up the book. Right here, I'm looking right at Rich, and that is beautiful. I'm going to stand up and show you inside the book so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. That exactly is about the angle I would be looking at from my point of perspective when I show it to a spectator. You can clearly see if you open this with your fingers on the edge and you pull back, it pops open that cover for the book, and it lets you see inside very, very well. And that's kind of the gimmick to the thing right there, just boom. You open it up and you show, listen, you could have picked pictures, you could have picked words. I don't know if you picked a word that's bold or if yada, 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 make up some stuff. Meanwhile, you've peeked, trick's over. Reveal it any way you want. Slow, and if you would, just like before, just say stop. Okay, go to the top line. If you would, just kind of focus on something that's prominent in the top line. You got it? And this time, I'm going to ask you in a different kind of a route, because I think I figured out what the problem is before. I was kind of focusing more on the word. I should maybe focus more on the process. So like I did with him. So think about like the kind of word it is. If it's like a descriptive word, a usable word, if it's, you know, like I did with him, is it a word that has a finality or a purpose? This word has a purpose, right? It's more of a purpose type thing. Okay, that makes sense. So it's more like something you can communicate to other people. Does that make sense? It does definitely make sense. Okay, that's good. Okay, so it's obviously something along the lines of a communication or something like that, right? Okay, I love it. So think about your word and think about how many syllables in it. You have it? Think about how many syllables, like superstition, like how many parts to it. Do that, if you would. Do it again. I don't know if you do that in for free or what, but it's interesting because you're like doing stuff and it's kind of throwing me off, but I'm thinking like about 2-syllable word, everyday average word, probably like a language. Is that your word? Fantastic, sweet.
Get out of my head.
I will not. I'm in there dancing around right now. All right, I'm finally revealing my hidden key book test. This is really powerful, and it's a great way to use a standard book and gimmick it custom at home to your desires. This is the way it works. Watch. I riffle through the pages. The spectator says stop anywhere. At this point, right now, I know the word they're going to pick from the other page already. And I'll show you how it works. On the other side, if I instruct them to go to the top line, think of a large word. I know the large words right here, in this case, in the corner, right here. It says appropriate. I only know this because I'm kind of familiar with the book. But if you look across, so there's bunny, there's belief, there's bunny, and over here is appropriate. That's the word they're going to pick. The way this works is I'm cheating. Is I go like this and I riffle through the book and they say stop. I say, do me a favor. At this point right now, watch. I'll do the timing again, watch. I go through, da-da-da-da. They say stop. Right now, I've peeked at what I need to peek at, and then I don't look anymore. And I tell them what to do. Go to the top line, go to the page, go to the picture, whatever it happens to be that you're instructing them to do. And what I'm doing right now is I'm literally looking it up. And the way I'm doing that is I'm cheating. I've created a really cool method of having all of the answers to the book right in plain sight. So this is what the book looks like in the front. This is what the book looks like in the back when you buy it. The only difference is I've scanned it and recreated it in Photoshop with the main guts of the body replaced with every single answer that I need from peeking the opposite page. So let me show you what I'm talking about by peeking the opposite page. I'm going like this. People say stop. When they say stop, from my perspective right now, just barely over this crack, I'm looking at the far opposite page and I'm looking at the word while. And when I see the word while, I happen to also notice that's about dead center in the book. So that lets me know that about chapter 3 in here, I gotta find while. And as they're staring at that and they're concentrating, and I tell them, look at the other side of the page, think of a large word. The back key, I'm looking for while, which is right there, while dash. And in this case, it's cool because there's two really good size words, connected and overflowing. Connected, overflowing. 4 syllables, 3 syllables. I could do a syllable test to distinguish between the two. There's lots of different ways to do this. Or you can just start spelling it out and go, I think I'm getting a C, no. It starts like a curve, right? Yeah, no, it's an O, I didn't complete it. It's an O-V-E, over, and you can milk it for any way you want. And we'll teach you in the sections later how to really kind of sell this kind of stuff. But the thing I'm kind of revealing here that I've kind of kept to myself for a while is just taking books and gimmicking them themselves. This gives you a great opportunity to just find books that you like for instance, self-hypnosis and other mind-expanding techniques. This is just a great book. I got at one of those stores that have books that are used for $1. And I get a whole bunch of these little pocket books and I carry them around and do things with them. As a couple tips, the way I've done this is if I go through and I see a word on the first page right here on the opposite side, I write down on a piece of pad or on my computer the word to. After I do to, I go to the opposite side and I write whatever major words, like I would put pretty much immediately. Page after page, I'd take severe. Then I would write, in this case, maybe I would do punish and healthy. Next page, shus, which is just the end of a word. I just go with it. I just go with shus. It's part of probably, I'm guessing, malicious. No, conscious. And on the other side, in this case, there's maybe successfully, chronic, and warrior. So on my key, the way I typed it up is I put the word dash and then whatever amount of options there are just with spaces. That's it. You're gonna run into cases where there's a the, and then 5, 6 pages later there's another the, and maybe even later in the book there's a the. So what I've done is actually, if it's a capital the, I put capital the. If it's a lowercase the, I put a lowercase the. And if there's a case where there's a discrepancy where there's 3 or 4 that are close in the book together and it's kind of confusing, I'll literally write the movement or whatever the next word is, dash, then my choices. So don't sweat it if you're looking at it and you're getting to the preparing stage and you're like, oh my gosh, there's like 3 dozen in this book. How the heck am I going to do this? I'm telling you, this right here is beginning of the book, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. It's just in order. So halfway through the book, right here, boom. If they stop there, you know you're about right there. So it's real quick to find the general spot you need to look for. I did this in Photoshop and I made it look identical to the original book. And I glued it on simply with a glue stick. Trimmed it perfectly, glued it on, trimmed it all off afterwards, and I have what looks like, even in person, you feel the sucker, you would never know the difference. I did a great job. I also cheated and I used a photograph. I sent this image to Costco, and for 99 cents, I got an 8x10 printed on non-glossy, high-quality stock paper that I cut out and glued on here, and it actually gives it, I mean, you feel the sucker, it feels like a regular book. It's really cool. It has a lot of longevity. It resists stains and wetness. This is a fantastic way to, it takes a little time to prepare a book, but once you've done it, you got this thing for years, and you can customize your act around books that might fit your theme. This is a fantastic solution right here for, different peaks. And, as another option, when you're looking through here and there's no page numbers, it's actually really cool that this is just a bunch of words. And if you look at the back, it even says, here's a quick guide to words with hypnotic influences. And then there's a list of all my stuff that I need. And it re-talks about the book again here. So the first line and last line were legitimately there before, and I just took out the guts. Now, that's the back of the book. There's another way to do this as well. If you want to leave the back of the book intact and you don't want to go through this method of getting everything to be perfect like in Photoshop, and you want to still have a system like this, I've done this with little tiny printed systems that I have like hidden by my box of magic or in my hand, things like that. Or I've also done it in this book for presentation purposes. If you go through this book, the second to last page glued in here is literally just a sheet of paper. It's the exact same key list, but this is even better because it's broken up into chapters with spaces, so you can go to the reference point very, very quickly. And this you can print on with any text tool, sticky notes, Word, any kind of program on your computer. Get it to size right, print it out, stick it in here. And I pretty much did it the same font and size of the stuff in the book just to make it, that much more polished in case someone was flipping through the book. And you know what? This stuff, to me, this looks so good. I have no care in the world to just leave this on the table with people and they can look at it. I don't even care. That's how comfortable I am with having the entire book's key sitting in plain sight. I hope you get a lot of use out of this. This is a really wonderful thing I've done for years, and it's a great way, again, to just use a book of your liking for your effects. So here's what I want you to do. This is going to be really bizarre. What I want you to do is reach inside, but I want you to make contact with your buddy here. You say you have a strong connection with him, right?
Yeah.
So what I want you to do is reach inside like this, Open it up, and I want you to mark an X inside, but what I want you to do is make contact with him the whole time. Eye contact. Take it, open it up anywhere you want, and watch me. I'm not going to look. Open it up, watch him the whole time.
Okay.
Just do it. Reach inside anywhere you want, but watch him. You got it? Do it. You got it?
Yeah.
Come back out. We're going to try an experiment. You don't know his word, right?
Yeah.
That would be impossible, but we're going to try to do something unique. Do me a favor, if you would, without letting him see. You can look through, find your X, and I want to do something. Have you do something specific. There's going to be an X in there somewhere. It could be on a blank spot. It could be on a picture. It could be like on a word and a picture. Wherever the X generally is, pick a word in that area. Okay?
Okay.
Do it. Just open it up. Find your spot. Don't let me see. You got it?
Yeah.
You got it. Fantastic. You're going to help find this word.
Really?
Yes. This is going to be interesting. Do you see a word?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Love it.
Okay. We're going to try an experiment. Just moments ago, we were having a conversation about something, right?
Yeah.
Remember when I met you? Remember what were we talking about?
Photography?
Right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Photography? Mm-hmm. What's your word?
Amateur.
Amateur?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Let me see where you marked. Where? 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 No. Look. Watch the X. Get closer.
Oh, I'm out of here.
No.
I'm out, man.
Come here.
God, seriously. What?
I'm so out.
Are you serious?
No. This is the
God.
What?
Come on.
No.
Photography, right?
Yeah.
You're a photographer, correct?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Did you get a mental image of that?
So, no, I know, man. No.
Come on. Yo. Let me.
Unwritten utilizes a small prop. It's a specialized Sharpie. I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. See, the basic effect goes like this. You take out a marker. I'm going to use a piece of paper here so I can reserve the quality of this magazine, but I'm going to actually instruct them to do this on the magazine. I say, take a marker, and if you would, as an example, right on the sucker, I would mark an X. I say, I'm going to have you mark an X inside the magazine. And as I do this, I just put the marker right away, just back in my pocket. And I say, you're going to mark an X. And it's actually, if you think about it, the X goes like this. So there's 1 spot, 2 spots, 3 spots, 4 spots, 5 spots. Essentially, you're marking 5 things. You can pick where you mark the X. You can pick around the corners, et cetera, et cetera. But when I've gone into my pocket, I've casually switched for my gimmicked marker. And what this is a marker that doesn't do anything. This is just a dry eraser. So check this out. Dry Sharpie. If you get a Sharpie that's going bad, the way you make this is leave it out in the sun. It's going to take weeks for it to happen. So what you do is pry this sucker open. You might need a cloth and maybe a vice grip of some sort, like pliers or something like that, but don't destroy the integrity of the plastic. Keep it looking good. If you pull this sucker apart, there's going to be a big, long black tube with plastic around it, like a straw, full of this kind of felt material saturated with ink. And even though a marker is going dry, it's going to take weeks for it to go dry. So what you want to do is to make sure none of that ink leaks back into this felt, remove that cartridge and throw it away, and then let this sucker dry out. Put it back together, and you have yourself a super dry marker to use for this kind of effect. So what you're going to do is hand them this dummy marker. And you're going to have them open up the book and mark anywhere they want. But here's the trick. You've already marked inside the book. So they're going to take this, they're going to go inside the magazine, and they're going to feel around, following your instructions, not looking, mark an X, pull the marker out, close the book, and then you continue telling them instructions about the X and how they have multiple choices, et cetera, et cetera. Take the marker back, put it in your pocket. That's it. Now, I've told you, you've pre-marked the book with a real marker. So check this out. I'm going to find the spot that I've marked, and I'm going to explain something to you. Should be close to the center. There it is, perfect. This is what I actually marked, right here. I did this previous to giving them a dry eraser. Now, I purposely went through 3 words that I like: juiced, occasionally, and something. I just happened to pick those because this general area right here is what is natural. If you did this to 100 people, 90 of them would pick it open and do right there. That general spot is a key spot to do this. Generally center of the book and generally around this area. That's what's natural. No one's ever going to mark the corner because they don't know what they're doing yet. They're just going to follow your instructions. So shoot for this area. What I've done is I've picked juiced, occasionally, and something because I can decipher what those are if I ask someone. I'm really good with syllable tests. I can say, think about your word. Think about, like, for instance, how many syllables in it, like superstition. And I watch them do this. And I watch the beats in their face. And so I can legitimately get a read on if it's juiced, something, or the easiest one to catch is occasionally. I mean, it's a no-brainer. So that's a fun way of giving them multiple choices, and then you blow their mind by revealing the word in some really clever way. You can also do it where it's dead on and they have no choice. It's one outcome, and that could be a predetermined outcome in all kinds of clever ways. You can have that planted anywhere. So it's up to you how you want to milk this thing, but this is the method of marking and using a dry eraser to come up with the unwritten prediction. Okay, as another little tip for unwritten is if people are using magazines or books or things, obviously you have to manage them correctly. You don't want them doing it where you can't see and they can't see, but then 16 other spectators are watching them write nothing. So you want to make sure that nobody's really watching. Say, do it under the table so no one else can take a peek. I don't want anyone revealing what this answer is going to be or whatever. Manage it however you need to manage it so that no one sees anything. Now I will add, I've done this in front of millions of people on TV live. And what I did, and I'll give you a very big secret to reveal for this Illusionist DVD, is I took the time, I paid 30 whopping bucks for a publicity stunt on TV, and I paid for a really killer ad, and I pre-marked the X on the ad, which is something I revealed during the show. I'm not going to give you all the details, but just giving you just a little insight of how far you can go with this. It's a great thing to do. It's foolproof, and I had the host under his table mark something. He takes the newspaper out. It's only got 8 or 9 pages, very easy to find the X, and sure enough, it marks as ad, which has a phone number to a thing, to a person, and it's a huge publicity stunt type of effect. Foolproof. Didn't know if I had to say this, but I thought, you know what, I better not take the risk and assume. When you have the Sharpies, it might be convenient for you to mark them so you know which is the dry Sharpie and which is the regular Sharpie. What I've done is I've literally just put a little black dot in the bottom of the one that doesn't write. So when I look in my pocket, I can get them. But the thing is, I actually a lot of times just keep the real Sharpie right here so I can access it, and then the gimmicked one I just leave in my box. So depending on your style, this is a nice little tip for you. We're going to try an effect based around psychology. Okay. A trick where it apparently seems like you have free choice. And I usually wouldn't do this ahead of time, tell you what I'm going to do. Because in magic, it's supposed to be all tricky, and I'm not supposed to let you in on anything. But this isn't magic. This is mentalism. This is about science and techniques and body language and influence. So I want you to know ahead of time because I want you to have fun with this. I want you to understand that I'm going to say, pick something, and I'm going to subtly gesture, and you're going to fall for everything I do, and the end result, we're going to have a miracle. Mostly. It's not foolproof, but it's going to be to a degree that you're going to walk away going, okay, there's no explanation whatsoever except that you tapped around the side of my head. So we're going to try a little experiment. I'll shuffle these up, just say stop at some point.
Stop.
Okay, perfect. Watch. We're going to locate the 4 aces. We're going to pull them out and do a couple experiments with them. Watch. Perfect. 4 aces. Can I trust you? Perfect. Do me a favor. Shuffle them up.
Don't get them wet. It's very important.
Thanks a lot. You're good.
I learned I'm a terrible shuffler.
Don't leave. Oh, wait, Josh.
Is that enough? When do I shuffle?
To your heart's content.
A whiskey and a cigarette. Okay. But I'm really into what's going to happen.
You and you. Yes. The 2 that are paying attention, check this out. Oh, hey, welcome back. Hey, what's going on? Hey. We're going to try this. Look, you shuffle them up. So you guys, as a group, shuffle them up. Watch. We're going to try this. I'm going to pull out specific cards, and I'm going to place it down here depending on where you think they go. So, for instance, this card. It could be a red card.
Okay.
Or it could be a black card. Your choice. What do you think?
My choice?
Yeah.
Red.
Perfect. Did you see what I did?
No.
I said it could be a red card,
or it could be a black.
Aha,
It's
I
simple
know.
psychology. Watch.
Okay.
And we're going to continue this process little by little.
Okay.
We're going to have fun with it. Don't try to get so like about it. Just free will. Have
Okay.
fun. It's
Awesome.
a fun process. Watch.
Okay.
We'll pull
You
out
totally
this.
had me on that one.
What do you think? Red or black?
Black.
That's because you saw it.
I know. I'm on your team now.
No,
But
backstage
it's
picking.
probably not a
Watch.
black card. He probably changed it.
Red or black? Your choice. Red or black?
Black.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. I'm helping you.
Hey. Let's see. Red or black?
Black.
Because I tapped here or because you're being stubborn? Which is it?
Because you tapped there.
I thought so. Perfect. Check
He
this out.
asked me a question, I'm being honest.
What do you think, red or black? Oh, did you say anything? Okay, cool. Okay, I did, sometimes I get ahead of myself. Red or black? Red or black? That is cheating. No, you can look after if you want. That's the only time you get to see it.
Before you said it.
I know, you were right,
I know.
but I wasn't wrong. So, check this out. You shall, it's
cheating.
very important that you understand. You shall, I want to remove the jokers if you don't mind. I don't want to get all goofy.
Magician.
There we go. Perfect. All right. Do me a favor. Red or black? Red? Okay.
Black. No, I want to pick black now.
Okay, fantastic. I love it.
No.
Check this out. Sorry. Don't worry about it. What do you think? Red or black? Your choice. Red or black? Red or black?
And anyway,
Red or black?
after you pick it all,
Sure?
it's all gonna change.
Okay. Check this out. Red or black? You're so casual about it. I love it. Watch. This is a good one. Let's see. Red or black? Sorry.
Black.
Sorry. That was like once again I get ahead of myself. What do you think? Red or black?
Red.
Okay.
Oh,
And
no. I've never done
look,
that.
you shuffled them up, right? Doesn't get more fair than that. Look, I'm going to place them right here. I'm not going to do another thing. Watch very carefully. Without cheating.
I would never cheat. So I'm psychic.
Take a card, place it here if you think it's red, here if you think it's black. Go for it. Just put it anywhere you want. Red or black. Your choice. Just do it.
All of
Just
the
do it.
cards? Any
Stop.
of the cards. That's it.
I don't know if you guys were watching. She wasn't. But subconsciously, I just influenced you in the most obvious way possible. I said, stick the card anywhere you want.
Got it.
And they are laughing because you didn't see it because you're making eye contact as you're engaged.
Okay.
It's simple psychology. Do me a favor. Take the next card. Place it wherever you want. Your choice. Anywhere you want. Anywhere you want. Fantastic. I don't know if you caught that. Same thing. Stick the card anywhere you want.
I saw it.
Very simple.
Yep.
I want you to try to trick me.
Trick
Focus
you.
hard.
Okay.
No matter what you do, try to pay attention. Take the next card. Place it anywhere you want.
Oh, come on.
It gets frustrating, doesn't it? Because now you know I did it, and you're
I'm
gonna
going to put it there anyway.
Fantastic. You saw Princess Bride, right?
I did.
Yeah, we're at that level. So
Okay.
do me a favor if you would. Do me a favor. Take the next card. Do two.
2 cards in a row.
Yeah. Yeah. Do 2 in a row. Just do
Tell
it.
me later.
Fantastic. Sorry. Just do it. Just do it. Don't worry about it. Just do it. You're great. I love it. You got lucky on that one. That was great. Do me a favor if you would. Do another couple cards. I like your style. Go ahead. Go for it.
All right.
That's fine. Do 2. Do them together. Do them together. Do them together. No,
Together?
together. I said 2 cards.
2
Wait,
cards
hold on.
together.
Hold on. I said 2 together, right? To be
don't
fair,
know.
I did.
Yes,
so
you
one of
did.
those is in the wrong place. Fix
I
it.
see.
Fantastic. Thank you. Do me a favor. Do another card. Are you a pretty organized person? At
No.
home? No.
No.
It's interesting. I was wondering if you were trying to balance it out there because I saw
I
you
was,
kinda like,
actually.
it felt maybe a little light.
Visually.
Do another couple cards.
Okay.
Do
At
another
the same
couple.
time?
No, one at a time.
One at a time.
Yeah, just do it. Just do it. Do another card. Fantastic. Watch. You gotta understand one more time. I gotta show you this. You shuffled them up.
I
They're in
did.
no particular order.
Right.
It doesn't get more fair than that.
Right.
I was upfront and honest to begin with that we were gonna play with all these cards, right?
Right.
Watch.
Oh, let's
I need
see.
your help. Do me a favor if you would. A little bit of a difficult table to pull these out. Take the aces out. Take the 2 aces out, if you would. You put them face down on top. And put them in nice 4 piles right here in a row. Just do it right here in a row. Square them up. Ding, ding, ding. Fantastic.
Oh, these tables are.
For the skeptic, one more time. Next card's red. Next card's black. Next card's red. Look, they're all different, right?
Admit it. Yeah.
Admit it.
Don't be on his side.
All right.
Just saying.
Come on, pile.
I'm asking you. You're
Oh, I can't wait to see this.
Fantastic. Did you cut those just now, or was that an ace on top?
No.
That was. Perfect, watch. Then put it on top. You mixed them up?
I might have.
Yeah, I didn't say to mix them up.
I'm just trying to get him off the table.
Oh, it's on top too.
Okay.
I think that's very
Okay, good.
I don't know enough to like try to be magic myself.
obviously a magician.
Right.
That one I remember showing you. That was right. That one right. This one right. That one right. This one right. And over here we have, pretty good. Got this one and 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 this one. And over here we have pretty good.
Oh my goodness.
And over here we have
Crazy, dude. This one's wrong since it's flipped over.
that one.
Still, it's fucking
No.
matter. I know you wanted it to be wrong so bad. I wanted it to be wrong so bad.
I know you did. I was sensing it.
Damn it! This one was flipped over. I wanted it to be like a diamond,
I know.
but it wasn't.
I know.
No.
I know. What do you want it to be?
I wanted it to be a diamond, and it's probably a diamond now. Okay. Damn it! I feel like I should just be able to be like, what if I want it to be a spade? No. I want it to be a $100 bill. I want it to be a check for my rent. Make it happen.
This is called Way Out of This World, and this is based off of an old classic called Out of This World. My premise and handling is a little bit different, and it's a great opportunity to use a trick that's got no setup with a huge crowd and involve many, many people. I don't know why this happens, but toward the end of a party, like this huge crowd gathers around me and they're like, come on, one more. And I'm usually exhausted after 4 hours and I don't know exactly what I want to do. I have nothing prepared and I'm walking out the door and they draw me back in. This is a lot of times the kind of trick I like to pull out because it does play big to a lot of people. It's fun, it's interactive, it's memorable, and I don't have to do a whole lot. So check this out. This is how it starts. It's a regular deck of cards. You can borrow the cards. There's no setup whatsoever. I actually like to start off with doing a 4-ace routine of some sort. So in this case, I've got the 4 aces on top of this particular deck, and I would make the 4 aces pop out in one of a million different ways, and then you do an ace trick of some sort. There's a whole bunch of them out there. I just do a couple of my favorites. Regardless, I get the aces out of the deck. They're on the table after I've done with them, or you just pull them out and stick them on the table. At this point, you have someone shuffle the cards. It's very, very important because the premise I'm going to use with this is influence. It's all about me psychologically doing whatever I need to do to make this trick work out. You know what I mean? And I tell the people straight up, I'm going to influence you. I usually don't tell you ahead of time what I'm going to do. But in this case, I'm going to tell you ahead of time because I want you to try to, in a sense, make this difficult. But I want you to be having fun with this. I don't want you to be all stubborn. I want you to have fun and get involved and try to do this. So I kind of prep them a little bit so they know something's coming. And we go back and forth, and there's this nice big outcome. So they shuffle up the cards. I take the cards back, and here's the setup. I put a red card on the table next to a black card, then a black card and a red card. So they're alternated. And there's 2 directions to go with this. I take the shuffled cards, I hold them up in front of me, and just to jump right into what the end result's going to be, I'm going to pull out cards and put them on here depending on where they want me to put them, they think, but I'm going to influence them. I'm only pulling out, in this case, I'm only going to pull out red cards. So I'm going to reach through the deck that's been shuffled by them, and I'm only going to remove red cards. And after doing this for a while, let me just remove red cards face up. After doing this, and doing this, and doing this, and doing this, I will be left with nothing but black cards on the top. So just to jump ahead, I'm just giving you a little insight about what's going to happen if you're not familiar with this trick. So let's just go back to where we were, and this is how I present it. I talk about influence. I even give an example or 2 before I start the trick. And with the influence in their mind and this believability factor, they know that I'm capable of doing this stuff, then I hop into a really fun, interactive version of this trick. I put out the aces, and then I go through the cards, and I constantly show that they've been mixed. At this point, I bring the cards up toward me, And I'm very careful to make sure not someone else is staring at me the entire time. Sometimes it's okay, but not if they're spread out and there's a big chunk of black left. It's not good if people are looking. So I protect them and I reach in and I grab a card, what looks to be random. But I've already kind of peeked and I know that this next card's a 4 of diamonds, and I reach down and I pull it out and I say, do you want me to put this here where it's red or black? And as you see in the presentation side, you can probably already tell the entire presentation. I'm actually really good at reading people, and I can tell if someone's staring at the black. I throw it there before they even say it, so it looks really scary that I was in their head. Anytime I'm right, I take credit for it. And if I'm wrong, I move on, because you know what? We have a lot of cards to go through, and I'm not going to reveal this every single time, so it looks pretty cool. So let's say they said black. I go through here and I concentrate and say, ooh, this is a good one. Jack of Hearts is a dang good card. What do you think, red or black? And if they say red, I go, sometimes I tell the truth. And I show them. And there's a million different ways to present this, but I make it fun and interactive. Sometimes I'll bring the cards down and I show that they're mixed, and I'll literally grab a black card. That throws people off. I grab a black card in plain sight, just like this, but I'm going to actually pull out the next card, the 7, right here. So to a spectator who's maybe being pretty nosy right here, I'll do this. I'll say, hey, what do you think? And I'll grab what they think is this red card, that's black card rather. And as I turn down, I'll just pull out the card that's sandwiched between my first finger and thumb. I'll pull out the red card. And they're going to say black. And I say, and I'll look at it, I'll say, oh, that's because you saw it. And it's just a way to throw in this back and forth idea that they're random. You want to try to prove, without showing them obviously, that the cards are indeed red and black. And so I like this back and forth playing. The other thing I do is very often I like to spread the cards open, at least the top 2/3, and I show, look, you guys shuffled these. This would be impossible, and I think you know where this is going. This is going to be impossible if these match at the end, that kind of a thing. So as I'm putting the cards down, use any bits of psychology. If you put a card down, let's say, and they say, you go like this, you want it to be red or black? And they say red, you go, oh, you know, it's interesting that you put it in the red, because did you catch that tone in my voice, anybody? And people like shake their head, they go, oh yeah, that was amazing. It's because I influenced you to do it. And you always have some reason of why they're putting the card down, and you will start to see people hitting each other. I told you not to do that. I knew he was going to force that. I saw it. He was tapping, or he said it louder, or he gestured, or whatever it is. And you would be surprised that once you get good at this, 80% of the time they actually do what you want anyways. And that's what's really cool, is you're using almost a trick to make something that's legitimate foolproof, because this isn't necessarily foolproof if you did it with pure psychology, but it's a trick too. So you combine it together and it makes a really entertaining experience. At the end, we're going to fast forward. I'm going to throw up here a bunch of red cards for a second. So let's just say that they said red, they said black, they said black, they said red. This is what it's going to look like after a couple minutes. Boom. At this point, right here, you can still show the cards are mixed. But don't show the top 10 to 15 cards, because your goal, as you're removing the red cards, is to leave a good 10 black cards together at the top. And what's cool about this is there's no stack. You make the stack as you remove cards. Pretty cool. So here's a bunch of black cards on top, but you don't reveal it to anybody. You actually make it look like, look, you shuffle these up. Red, black, whatever. You put them on the table and you turn to someone that's a really fun, entertaining kind of person who seems to follow rules pretty well, and you say, do me a favor, take the next card, place it wherever you want. Well, now all of these are going to be black. So just real quick, let's just get through it, because I think you get it, and a lot of you have probably seen a version of this type of trick. So they put a bunch of cards out here. You can also throw in the psychology and the touching and the timing and all that kind of stuff. At this point, you're almost done. You pick up the cards, and once again, you show, look, even off the top this time, because you've already removed all the black cards for the most part. You can say, look, red, black, black, red. You shuffled them, right? Now watch. You put these on the table, and at this point, this is an extra handling I came up with of how to switch these cards. I don't really like the styles where they put all the piles together and they flip a packet over, or they remove a card and switch it. To me, this is very simple. I instruct someone to my left to help me. I say, hey, do me a favor. Remove the aces, if you would. And I literally scoop up my 2 aces, just like I just did. I take my aces as an example. I say, help me out. Take the 2 aces out, and as I'm doing that, I'm doing it. I scoop them up, and as I flip this, I leave this top card. Boom. It's as clean as can be. So I actually switched them right in plain sight as I'm saying, help me do this.
So they're focusing on these cards, they're removing them, they're going to put them face down. Trick is over. You're going to reveal these, you're going to turn them over. Red ace, boom, all red cards. Black ace, boom, all black cards. But I do want to go over this one move real quick again. Let's say we're right here with red and black. I'm going to pick up my card. I'm going to say, can you help me out? Do me a favor, remove the aces. And I reach forward, I scoop up the 2 aces, flip them over, and I just do this. I leave the top ace, and I leave this ace. As I continue in one fluid motion talking, do me a favor, if you would put the aces on top like that and put them in 4 equal piles. Boom, done. As I'm talking, it's done. So this is what they do. They put them on top, and they continue putting them in 4 nice piles, and I talk about how I don't want to touch them. This is completely blows over anybody's head. So they put it in 4 equal piles. They've done all the work for you. They're cleaning them all up. And as they're doing that, you're recapping to your audience, this is what we've done. You guys shuffled the cards. We put them down anywhere you wanted. I even showed you along the way some of the cards were right, just to show you that I know what I'm doing or whatever. And at this point, you're done. Milk it for all it's worth. I have a black card, black card, black card, black card, black card, black card. And you go through this entire process revealing that all of the cards matched. It's mind-blowing. It's a great effect. And I even throw in a couple mistakes. I'll go through here like this and I'll say red card, red card, red card, red card. And you cannot believe how stupid this is, how many people fight to see this card. They're like, oh, he messed up, he messed up. And when, even though they're all perfect and they should already be screaming, something triggers them right here. It's like a nervous retention release or something. When this gets turned over and they see that even the one they were hoping was wrong, they just go, oh, I was hoping so bad that was going to be a mistake, and it wasn't, and they all cheer and clap and go crazy. That's way out of this world. I hope you like it. Here's a couple extra tips for you to keep track of during this effect. When I put the 4 aces down, I put a red ace and a black ace, then a black ace and a red ace. It could be black ace and red ace and red ace and black ace. It doesn't matter. The end result is that whatever you're putting up here, keep track of it so you know which 2 aces to switch at the end to make them all match at the end. And it's easy for you to look at and just think about, oh, what do I do? Oh yeah, those are red, so I need to switch the red ace. You know, it's pretty straightforward. However, something you might want to consider is actually switching the wrong aces, because then the end result is at the end, all of the cards are wrong. And that's just another spin and direction depending on your premise that you create for Way Out of This World. This is going to be a little bizarre. Have you ever heard of baselining? Baselining, not jumping off of cliffs with snowboards, but I'm talking about in a psychological sense, maybe if you're playing poker, like how does a person sit at the table? Does they sit like this?
They play a lot of
and then if they shift forward, they're more interested in the game. Maybe they have good cards. If they shift back, they're less interested. It's a subtle shift.
Absolutely.
So if you figure out what do they normally do under certain conditions, what do they do under stresses, what do they do under certain questions and things like that, right? So we're going to try this. Dollar bills, not a big deal. I'm going to show you this, that every single serial number is different. That's the point of a dollar, because they're like a thumbprint. That's what the serial numbers are about, correct?
Sure.
Do you understand what I'm talking
Absolutely.
about? So we're going to try this experiment. You're going to take the dollars. You're going to shuffle them up face down. Face down.
Face
Shuffle
down,
them up so
center.
neither one of us knows what any of the bills are.
They need to be.
That was like a funky magic shuffle right there. That was cool. Do me a favor, reach in, take out one of the bills, look at the serial number. Don't let me see it.
Okay.
Don't let anyone else see it, and we're going to try a very weird experiment. I want you to look at the serial number, keep it so you can maybe peek at it.
Okay.
And then focus on it and look at me. Look at the first letters and numbers. Can you lift your hat up just a little bit,
sure.
just like that, so you can see your eyes? We're going to work on the numbers. Ignore the letters for a minute.
Okay.
Look on the numbers, okay?
Yeah. Got it.
Perfect. Look at the first number. I'm going to always start with a 5. Does that make sense? And I'm going to go up and down from there accordingly.
Okay.
Don't try too hard to be stubborn. Just be like
Sure.
you normally would if I was your friend and you've known me, okay? We're going to start with the first letter, the first number rather. Ignore the letters for now. Think of the first number, and it's going to start with a 5. Is it a 5?
No.
Don't tell me that it's higher or lower than a 5. I know that, right? Obviously. Just think if it's higher or
Sure.
lower, right? Just think about it if it's higher or lower. Perfect. Okay, look at me. This is great. I know it's lower. You were a little bit guilty when I asked you that, and that's the time you glance down. Watch me, look at me, think about it. If it's 4, 3, 2, it's a 2. That's pretty easy. Okay, listen, I appreciate the help, but watch this. Do me a favor, if you would,
look at the second letter, the second number rather.
Got it.
The second number. You already know it. Okay, one of the memory guys. Great. All right. Look at the second number in your mind. Think about if it's a 5, higher or lower. 5, higher or lower. It's not a 5, okay? Think about if it's higher or lower. It's lower. This is great. I love this. Where were you yesterday? I needed you to come on my show, man. So think about it. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. 0? It's a 0?
I'm sorry.
It's a 0, okay? Hey, look at me. Look at me.
All right.
Think of the next number. Think of the next number.
I got it.
You got it?
I know it.
Perfect. Focus on it in your mind. 5. Higher, lower. Higher, lower. Higher. Okay? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, now you're on. Okay. 5, 6, 7. 7? Is it a 7?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, baby. All right.
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's keep going. Do you know the next number?
I don't.
Okay, take a peek. Take a peek. You got it? Oh, perfect. Okay, look at me. Think about the next number. Think about 5. It's not 5. Okay, 5.
No, it's not.
Higher or lower?
I'm thinking about it.
It's higher or lower?
Are you asking me a
No.
question?
I'm trying to get you to kind of you nod without knowing you're nodding. Don't worry about it. 5 or lower? It's a lower. 4. 3. Okay, that was way too easy. Hit 3. Okay, check this out. Do me a favor. Think of the next number.
Got
You
'em.
got it? Got 'em. Got 'em. So they're the same number. So they're the same number.
The next two,
Two
yes.
are the same. That was a slip on your part. Got 'em.
It was.
That's,
That was.
Don't worry about it. Got 'em.
Freudian
Don't worry
slip.
about it. Got 'em. 5. 6. 6. 5, 6. It's 3, 6, 6. What are we at? 2,
207.
7, 3, 6, 6.
Yeah, 207.
Do we still have more numbers?
Yes, there's 2 more
There's-
numbers.
oh, there's 2 more
and a
numbers.
letter.
Oh, 2 more numbers and a letter. Okay.
Well, it's sandwiched by letters.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, the first letter's an L. The last letter's an F.
That's correct.
Okay. Do me a favor, if you would think you have 2 numbers left
Yeah.
to make it even more challenging. Add them up.
Okay.
99, 18. You know what I mean?
I got it.
Add them up. To come
I
up
got
with a
it.
whole new number that neither one of us would have known until this very moment.
Absolutely.
Because at this point, a lot of people try to throw me off and they try to like look at different numbers. And they don't want me to make it through the end. So do that. We're going to try this. Think about this number. It could be a 1-digit number, 2-digit number. More likely, probably a 2-digit number. I don't know. It is. Okay. Look at me. Look at me, if you would. Think about the number. Think about 10, 11, 12, all the way up to, would it be 18 is the highest we can go. So focus on that.
Right.
10. 10. Is it a 10?
Yep.
Fantastic. Let me see it.
Well, added up, 9 and 1.
Fantastic. Welcome to Recount. Recount's a great effect using money. It's an effect where you take 10 bills, you show the serial numbers are all different, you hand them to a spectator, they put them face down, shuffle them up, they remove any bill they want. They pull out a bill, they concentrate on a serial number, and from anywhere in the room, or not even ever even being in the room, you can tell them what serial number they're holding. Now the secret to Recount's pretty cool. There's 2 things going on here. One, you have 9 bills that came from a stack of sequential bills. So you're going to go to the bank and you're going to acquire a stack of 100 new fresh bills. And depending on the kind of bank you go to, if you don't bank there, it might be a little bit more difficult, but this effect is so worth the trouble of getting this. You get it once and you're set forever. You never have to do this again. Go to the bank and tell them, hey, I'm doing this fundraiser, we need 100 fresh bills, or tell them that you're a collector, you need 100 fresh bills, and not fresh like newish out of their drawer, but like a stack of new sequential ones. There's a difference. They'll go to the vault, they'll look. If they don't have them, you can say, can I order them? It won't cost you to order them. Banks get them in inventory all the time, especially during Christmas time. They get huge amounts of these. And you get these suckers, and I'm going to show you the secret of how you hand select the very specific bills you use for the trick. Here's the secret. If you look at, ignoring the top one, which we'll get to in a minute, these are all essentially the same exact bill over and over and over, except for the last 2 numbers. For now, just know this. When you go through your stack of sequential bills, remove all of the last 2 digits that add to 10. 19, 28, 73, 64, 55, et cetera, all the way up the line. 37, all the way up the line. And then you're going to have yourself 9 bills that are all the same that end with the last 2 digits adding to 10. Then find any bill, anywhere, anytime, out of your pocket, the bank, or whatever, that in this case it's pretty cool because the last 2 digits are 20, and the first 2 digits of these are 20, and it worked out really well. But you can start with any bill that ends in the same number that these start with, and then it works out really well. So let's say you memorized these minus the last 2 numbers. So I know these are 207366, L207366, blank, blank, F. That's what I know. So when I'm doing the trick, I'm going to, no matter what bill they pick, I'm going to say it's a L207366. Is there more? They're going to instruct me, yeah, there's a couple more numbers. I'm going to be like, you know what? Let's make it more difficult. Add those up. Let's try something more advanced. A number you wouldn't even have known you would have come up with today. They add it up, of course it's 10. Boom, 10, then F, it's a miracle. Now, in the case that they pick the one bill that's helping to disguise the fact that these are all the same, this is brilliant because the last number starts with the same number. So you can say, your bill, starts with a 2. If they say no, say, oh, no, it ends with a 2. It's 5976843 or whatever it is. In this case, I happen to know it's 20243420K, and it ends with the K. So it's just a different variation, and it's flexible. It doesn't matter. You can make it up as you go. This, to me, was kind of fun because it even had the first number. It was L20, not 24 or whatever. So it's kind of neat. This is just a really fun way of disguising it, and also a way to add an impossibility element to the effect. All right, well, with recount, you have to just memorize a couple numbers. It's pretty easy. It's like remembering a phone number. And once you do it once, you got this forever. This is forever. You don't have to keep replacing these things. The other thing I'll add is that when you have these turned face down and a spectator is shuffling them up and they pick a bill, don't just, for demonstration purposes, I was just kind of rambling these things off. You're not just going to say 207366 and it's a 10 and an F. You're not going to do that. You're going to struggle. One of the premises I like to use sometimes is baselining. I like to say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to figure out each of these numbers one by one based on like a scale. I'm going to kind of get a rhythm from you. I'm going to play a hot and cold game. And you really milk it for all it's worth. And you say, I'm going to start at 5 every time. Think of the first number. You have it in front of you. Think about it in your mind. Is it a 5? And if it happens to be, great, go on with the trick. But if it's not, that's always where I start. 5? It's not. Okay. Don't tell me, is it higher or lower? Higher or lower? It's lower. Lower than 3? Lower than 2? It's a 2. Second number, and you go back and forth. Second number, a 5? Oh, it's not a 5. Is it higher or lower? Boom, 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 all the way across, get all the numbers, and you can maybe play the same kind of system with the letters. So you kind of make it more of a psychological lie detector test type of thing. Or you can even make it where you say, you can lie or tell the truth. What's the first number? They say 4. No, it's not. It's something else. What is it? 2. Next one. What's the next number? They say 8. Say it again. 8. No, it's not. Boom. And you can have like a legitimate lie detector test using the serial numbers that you already know of. We'll give this a shot. I do a lot of stuff, obviously, with poker. I'm around a lot of poker players. I just went on tour in Europe doing workshops and stuff with poker chips. And I'm really fascinated by a lot of body language, like I was explaining earlier about baselining, and just that subtle shift forward and back is a huge amount. So I'm going to try a simple lie detector test. But first we need to pick one of these as a special object. These are just chips from around the country. What I'm going to have you do, since you're closest, pick one as kind of a special chip, something that maybe means something to you or the casino you like. It doesn't really matter to me. Just one chip that's indifferent from the others, and we're going to try a very, very simple experiment. What is it? Boomtown?
Sure.
Boomtown. I need you all to really take a look at this. Boomtown. That's what it looks like. Boomtown. 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 See it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Perfect. We're going to try this. This trick is very simple. We throw these into a bag and we shuffle them up. Everyone gets a chance to take a chip. My goal at the end is to try to figure out who's holding the chips. So what I want you to do is take a chip, don't look at it, keep it in your hand, and everyone's going to do this. And at the end, I'm just going to kind of peripherally stare at everyone. You're going to take a peek, and I'm going to start asking you guys questions, okay? So reach in and take a chip. Take a chip. And don't be fancy and take 3 of them. Take a chip. Take a chip. Take a chip.
Excuse me for leaning over you. Take a chip. Perfect. If you guys would, please take a look at your hands and see what you got. If you have the Boomtown, don't let me know. Fantastic. Well, that was interesting. I looked up, everyone's making eye contact but him. That's one tell. I don't know what it means yet, but it's something I would take advantage of and notice.
You play some poker?
A little bit, yeah. Now he's double checking to throw me off. It's an interesting tell as well. Can I see what's in your hand? Maybe. Please. What do we got? What is it? Ah, good. You did it on purpose, didn't you? Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. We'll try this. I just threw that out there. Like I said, if you guys were looking, the first thing that happened is he wasn't making eye contact. He was contemplating things. Everyone else looked right up.
Sure.
And then a moment later, he was kind of double-checking his hand as if he forgot what he had. So that, to me, was a strong sign, so I took a stab at it. But we're going to just try to do this now. Everyone's aware of what they have, if they have the Boomtown or not, right? You're smiling, so I don't know if that tell lets me know that you're happy that you have it or don't, so I have to kind of work on that now. Okay. You can lie to me if you want or not. Do you have the Boomtown chip?
I do not.
You do not? Do you have the Boomtown chip? You can lie to me or not, your choice.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay, do you have it?
No.
You don't? Do you have it?
Yes.
Do you have it?
Hell yeah, I do.
You're so full of it. That was the worst lie I've ever heard in my life, dude. You can put your chip on the table. I know you're out. That was good, though. I hope. Good. Okay. I better check. Did you have the Boomtown chip?
I do not.
You don't? You remember the serial number on the dollar?
I have a
207
like you would believe.
36691.
Okay, do you have a Boomtown chip?
No, I don't.
That is the truth. All right. Good man. You can show us yours. What do you have?
Hilton.
Okay, fantastic. Do you have the Boomtown chip?
I'm so good.
She won't even answer. That's
I
suspicious.
know, it's not even an answer.
You're on my hot list right now because you won't even answer the question. So,
Great, I'll stay there.
do you have the Boomtown chip?
I'm all good.
That was a little.
I'm stealing.
That was a bit weaker. Do you have the Boomtown chip?
Aw.
You do? It's between you two right now for sure. You
Great.
can open your hand. What do you have? Only reason is because you were trying to mimic her, and that's just a sure telltale sign.
I'm easy.
Do me a favor. Think of an animal right now. First one that comes to your mind. What is it?
Lion.
Do you have the Boomtown chip?
Yes.
Think of an animal right now. First one that comes to your mind.
Well,
Do you have the Boomtown chip?
nope.
That was so funny. Finally, some honesty. What do you have in your hand? You don't have the Boomtown chip.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
That's not in her hand anymore.
Sometimes you can even hear
No,
it
it was
vanish.
the Paris chip.
Was it?
Yes.
So that leaves you with the Boomtown chip. Fantastic. Very cool. This is Lie to Me. Lie to Me is a fantastic effect using a stack of chips, coins, any small borrowed objects, and any device to hold it in. A bag, a hat, a purse, anything. This is 100% impromptu, 100% foolproof, and this is a great way to get a huge audience participating in what appears to be a lie detector test. I'm going to show you the method behind it, some handling, and some tips. I have a bit of an advantage on this effect because I happen to be, into coin and chips and stuff, and I can do all kinds of crazy things. So it looks kind of cool when I walk out and I go, whoosh, and I have a big old star of chips, and then I say, you know what? I'm a gambling expert. I can detect body language. I can read if you're lying and stuff like that. But the premise works for anybody. It doesn't matter if you're a poker chip trick guy or not. If you have any borrowed objects, coins, chips, I love using chips for this effect. It just works out really well. You can effectively tell them, hey, you can tell them what the premise is, which is, I've been studying body language. I can tell if someone's lying or not. Everyone's familiar with that whole, they're lying and you look to the left kind of stuff. So you can play with that premise and you can do this effect. The effect is easy. What you do is you have an amount of objects that there are people participating. So say there's 6 people, do 6 objects. I'm going to do all 8. I have 8 chips here, and I like to use about that many. You'll see why in a minute. If you only use 5, it's not as impressive. Once you get to 8, it starts to get long. So anywhere around 8, I think, is really good. It disguises I don't want to say the gimmick, but the secret behind this. So here's what you do. You're going to have one object be the key object. So if you borrow objects, you're going to say, we're going to collect a bunch of objects, one of which is going to be very, very special. Or in the case of my chips, I have a whole bunch of chips from all over the world. I have a huge collection. I brought 8 with me.
And I literally let them look at them and I say, where's a place in the world that's special to you? Or what's a casino you like, or whatever. And I let them pick. Let's just say in this case they picked Paris, Las Vegas. So they picked this as the special chip. I show they're all different, and this is what I instruct them to do. I take the bag and I drop the chips into the bag. Pretty simple. At this point, each person's going to be directed to reach inside the bag, take out, in this case, the chip, hide it in their hand, don't let me see it, don't let anybody else see it, don't share the information, and secretly to yourself, just kind of notice if you have the Paris chip, or in the case of maybe your trick, of the diamond ring, or whatever it is. You shake the bag up, you go to spectator number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, and number 8. And when it's done, you know only one thing: who might have the secret chip. And here's the thing that's crazy about this. You don't actually know, but you're not actually doing mind reading because it's one of 2 people that have it. And I'm going to show you the secret. So you drop the chips in the bag and you let everyone pick. When you get to the second to last person and the last person, they're the only ones that could have it. That's because I don't actually let it drop into the bag until the second to last person. So this is what it would look like. One more time, because there's a little bit of a moment here, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So let's say they picked Paris. This is the one that's the key one. I put these in my hand, and I palm that last one. I just keep it from falling if you're not familiar with this kind of magic. I reach inside the bag. Actually, you can put your hand in the bag, and then it's the easiest thing in the world to do. Just keep it in your hand. Put that object, or in this case the chip, which works really well, against the bag, and just hold it like that and let people pick. So I'm going to act like 8 people because this is really important. Look, spectator number 1, spectator number 2, and of course these are hidden in their hand. Spectator number 3, spectator number 4, spectator number 5, spectator number 6. Now, at this point, this is what's really interesting. There's only 1 chip left in here at the bottom. So, of course, if you went to the second to last person and said, pick a chip, and they only felt 1, that could blow the entire trick. That's why, as soon as this third to last one comes out, that's why you shake each time. You shake, and then here you shake and drop that chip, add it back in, so the second to last person can feel that they had an option, and then, of course, the last person is left with what they're left with. You don't want to do that on the third person because then you got 3 people to pick from, and the trick's just not going to work out very well. So, second to last person, and the last person picks out chips. In this case, the second to last person got Paris, and the last person got whatever they got. So always, the last 2 people, it doesn't have to be in order. I like to mix it up as a matter of fact. The last 2 people that pull out of the bag, one of them has the object. That's half the secret. The rest is just the structure of your presentation. So I will literally look at people, ask certain questions, play back and forth. You can lie to me or tell me the truth. Do you have the chip? And I might even excuse 1 or 2 people during this process, depending on the style and the moment and what I've been given. I might even say, you know what, you can just sit down. You too, you guys are horrible liars. And then I can go around and have fun looking like I'm some kind of profiling expert, which I sort of am. But it's this is actually a really great trick to practice that kind of stuff because it's foolproof and it's a way to try legitimately to do things, and then you're seeing feedback while you're throwing out tests and things. And then you have 2 people to go off of, and sometimes I'll just look around and I'll ask questions, and at one point I'll just take a stab at it. I'll try to get some sort of read from these 2 people, and I'll literally just say, you know what, open up your hand. And if she opens up her hand and it's, say, not the correct one, I'll say, I didn't think so. You and you, sit down as well. We're going to try something. It's between 4 people left. Boom, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. A 5th person. We have 5 people. If you. And I just roll with the punches, like not even a hiccup. So it doesn't look like a mistake. Because you can't do this. Point to the person who you think it is maybe, and they have it's not the right one. You can't say, open up your hand. Okay, that's not it. Well, let me try again. It doesn't look very good. It looks like you made a mistake. You want it to look like you meant to. So the moment you know you're wrong, say, open up your hand. That's not it. You don't even have to open up your hand. You either. You 2 sit down. I don't think you have it. Open your hand. I didn't think so. And it verbally ties into the rhythm of what you're doing. It's a really great way to cover your butt. So if you turn to the person, you say, open your hand. And they open it up. Boom, there it is. Then you figured it out. And it's impressive. Then you can do it again. And you can do it again. And even if it changes from it is the first guess to not the first guess, it doesn't really matter because you can disguise it with your language and what you're doing, and you make it fun and entertaining. And that is essentially the lie detector test. Another couple tips with this lie detector test, which is stuff I've been doing this for years. This is a great one for huge parties because you can do this to enormous crowds. The chip, let's say, or the object, I like to use my custom chips from my poker company actually. These are just clay chips from my collection. I like to mark on one side a signature. And this is really clever because you say, you know what, here's my chips. If you would, or a coin even, sign your initials on one side of one. They sign it, you take it back. Now you have something really clever that's going on because you hand out all the chips. You get to the second to last person, they take one, the last person, they take one. Put the bag away. And then you kind of just keep a peripheral vision on those two people wherever they are at all times, because when you instruct them to look to see who's got the one with the special signature, they have no choice but to look at both sides. And it's a physical thing that you can see them do. If someone has it and it's on one side, they're going to do this, they're done. They aren't going to make a move. And you know 99% chance they have it. But if one of the two people that you're watching that you really have to focus on, if they do this and they're looking at both sides, they're checking because no one wants to make a mistake and look like a fool. That's a really clever way of determining without any fishing, like who more likely has it. It gives you a really good advantage. The other thing which I discovered, which is really cool, is the typical chips that you use at a home game are composite. There's a small wedge of metal in the middle of almost all of them, especially the generic ones. And if you have any magnets, like a thumb tip with the magnet and stuff like that, this is what's really cool. You can use a holding device, a bag or something like that. You can drop the chips in and you can actually have the chip stuck. If the bag's not see-through, that is, you can actually have the chip that you want to keep against the material from the inside just with a magnet. That's just another idea to throw out there for you people that like to experiment with different methods of things. So that's my version of the lie detector test. Another very impressive premise for the lie to me effect is instead of having people pick poker chips or some items and then you go through and do a lie detector test, which would require lots of knowledge to polish it up as far as body language and tells and things along those lines, what about psychometry? Something where you pick one particular object from somebody that's very special. That's the target object. Everything else is just, we'll say, just normal objects. Even though they all could be rings, we just pick out one that's special, put them all into the bag, hold the one special item until you're able to force it. And at that point, you can go around and do the same type of thing, except this time you're using energy. You have a connection with that person you borrowed the object with, you hold his or her hands, you get some energy from them, and then you say you're going to be able to connect with their object and find it just through energy. So then you go through without having to say much, have much knowledge about a lot of psychological stuff. So you can go around, feel for energy, and then when you get to one of the two people that it has to be with, say, open up your hand. And if it's not it, right away, I feel nothing here either. Nothing here. Nothing here. You guys go away. I'm still feeling something between you two. Nothing there. Open your hand. And eliminate everyone until there's one left in that case. Or if you go up to the person, you say, open your hand. If it's it, maybe glance and be like, I'm feeling tons of energy. Yes, that's it. Perfect, So there's a way to sell that as well. You can play with it. You're smart. You got this DVD. There's lots of techniques on here. But I wanted to throw in just an entirely, totally different premise for that type of exact fundamental trick. I'll try this. I'll shuffle these up a little bit. Just say stop at some point. Stop. Okay, perfect. Check this out. Look. We're going to try this. Yeah, this is going to work around. Just shuffle them up more time to say stop. Stop. Perfect. Watch. You're going to pick a card, and the pairs, and look, they're all different. Not a big deal. I'm going to do this with, I'll do this with you. Look, I'm just going to go like this, and just say stop at some point.
Stop.
Remember the card, but don't tell anybody. And we're going to try an experiment. If you would, shuffle them up. That's good. Oops. Okay, shuffle them up. Makes those things up real good.
Rick makes them real good?
Yeah. Perfect. And hold out your finger. Hold this for just a second. Just like this. Fantastic. Lovely. So we're going to try this. Don't stare at your card if you see it. That would be a dead giveaway. But I do just want to show you that these are all different and that your card is in here somewhere. Not a big deal. All right, watch. Perfect. Here's what I'm going to have you do. Take the wire off your hand. These nice and wide so we can see everything. Get them all spread out. What I want you to do is Take the wire off your hand, hold it straight like this. Just hold it by one hand and let it dangle. Fantastic. I'll straighten it out for you. Perfect. Now, do you know what the card is? Mm-hmm. You do? Okay. Do me a favor, if you would. Just like that. It kind of tends to want to go somewhere, doesn't it? I think do you think you have pretty good energy? Like you read people well, you're a good people person, you're emotionally attached. Like you're not an emotional person necessarily, but you'd say you're more emotionally inclined than other. Okay, fantastic. I'm picking that up. So we're going to try an experiment. What I want you to do is go back and forth across the cards like this. Just go back and forth like a Ouija board. Just like that. Perfect. Slowly. If you feel any sort of type of, I don't know, energy or, feel some type of energy, just stop. Just give it a stop. Right in this area, we're going to go like this. Check this out. We're just going to circle in this general area right here. You're going to help us out. Watch this. We're going to go like this just in circles right here. What I want you to do is just say stop.
Stop.
Okay, just go down. Right in my eyeball.
Right in
my eyeball. It's like voodoo. Ow, my eye. Check this out. Do me a favor. Slide the card out and put it in front of you. Put your hand on top of it so I can't touch it. Put your hand on it just like that. We're going to try a very interesting experiment. You said you're very susceptible to energy and that kind of stuff. I want to show you that you could have picked anything. Lots of cards, right? Check this out. I want to try something. I want to take this and we're going to see if we can get this to move. Watch. Just watch. And we're going to try to pick up some information about your card in a very, very bizarre way. What I want you to do is focus on the card you saw. Okay? Watch. Was it a jack? Wait. We're not done. Watch. Think about the suit. Just think about the suit for a moment. And agree if you think it's a spade. That's not the trick. That's just the beginning. So we took the cards, we shuffled them up. They were face down. I never even saw them. We took a wire off your freaking finger. Mm-hmm. You went back and forth. You, on your own, without me touching you, knew where to stop. He picked between the three cards. You picked one card. What is it?
Get out of here! No way!
This is Wiregram Extreme. Wiregram is a product you can get through Illusionist, and in itself it's just a magical device. It's just a wire that you can take out, bend up, twist up, you apply heat to it, stick it in coffee, and it morphs into the shape of a prediction. In this case, it happens to be a jack of spades, and this is what we're going to use in this particular experiment. The way I use Wiregram is completely out of the box, way more premise utilizing mentalism and a couple other subtle things, so we're calling it Wiregram Extreme. Here's the setup to Wiregram Extreme. You force a card. Of course the card's going to be the same as your Wiregram. In this case, it's the jack of spades. I force the card. Once it's forced, in this case, let's just say they said stop. I give them the cards, I have them shuffled up, and at this point, I start a whole new phase of the trick. Now, here's something that's really important. The way I do Wiregram is totally different. I tell a story in an analogy. You'll see it in the presentation. I don't necessarily want to waste your time repeating it here, but it's about playing with wires as a kid and moving them with my mind and whatnot. That gives me a great opportunity and a segue into why I'm going to do what I'm going to do and why it looks weird when the wire starts to undulate and move. So before I start the trick, I like to take the wire out and I wrap it on their finger. So it's really important. This is a very, very important phase of this thing is before you ever even start with the card trick, you must get out your wire and you got to wrap it on somebody's finger. And almost every single time somebody comments, oh, you're going to take my finger off. And I always pause and joke like I did in the performances about them losing their finger. So we wrap it on their finger. We continue to force a card. Someone shuffles them, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, spectators got this on their finger before you ever forced a card. You don't want to pull it out after. That doesn't psychologically make sense because maybe you peeked and then you got the correct wire out or something. So it's better to have it out first on a finger. Now, the other thing you want to keep in mind on the setup side of things is this jack of spades. It's marked on the back. You can mark it any way you want. I actually sometimes mark it on the fly. I actually do small little I just a little buckle and a little bend on the corner and I'm set to go because I can see that slight bend in the cards when I spread them out, just enough for me to do my thing. However, the way I really do it a lot of times is I take something sharp, just to show you very quickly, and I find a spot in the material toward one of the corners that has a pattern that I think I can see a difference in if I make a little bit of a scratch. Just cut out some of the, just a little bit of the material in the design in an area that no one would ever notice. So when I spread the cards out, if I know what I'm looking for, I can look across and go, oh, there it is, right there. It's very important that when the cards are face down, you can see the card, because this is how I do wiregram. Let's just put it in the center. When I spread the cards out on the table, I'm actually telling the person, you can see they're all face down. Look, they're only this far apart from each other. And by the way, right now, I haven't a clue where it is. So right here, it's about this far. But I don't care if I have a clue, because I have all the time in the world to look, because I'm explaining to them, look, they're all spread out. Look how close together they are. We're going to try an experiment. Take the wire off your finger. And I turn to the person. They take the wire off. I instruct them to hold it straight down. We unravel it. We try to straighten it out. They hold it. And we're going to divine their card using energy, almost like a Ouija board. And you've seen this in the presentation as well. You're probably wondering, how the heck does Rich stop on the exact card they're face down? Well, now you know. They're marked. The other thing is the subtle guiding techniques that I like to use in mentalism. I use pure energy. I've literally gotten this down to a science where I say, do me a favor if you would. And I gesture and I put my energy at a spot and I point, and it's almost like I will them to go to a spot that's wide. And it's hard to believe, but if you do this a lot, you'll start to see how accurate you can get with this thing. So I touch their hand, I say, go back and forth like this. Go back and forth, slowly. And I happen to know that right here is the card, right there. So I'll turn to a third person that seems very willing and it's a good participant, and I'll say, do me a favor, if you would, and this is moving, by the way, if you would, at some point, if you would just say stop. And right about a beat before their card, I just kind of give a head nudge, which is kind of a subconscious of like, come on, dude, say stop. Very subtly. So if you would, you're going to help us out. If you would, just say stop at some point. They say stop. If I'm anywhere even remotely close to this card, which, like I said, is very often within a card or two, I just push the hand down and I'll slowly guide it. Say, look, stop right here. Don't do anything. Do me a favor. So I can't cheat. Take the card, pull it toward you, put your hand on it. This better be the Jack of Spades. It is. Right here, boom. Just like that. I don't show them, I was just checking for us. So boom, they put their hand on it, just like this. That stays there for the second kicker. Now, the fun part, I take the wire for wiregram. I hold it in my fingertips, and we stare at it, and it starts to undulate. Look at that. It's actually very pretty. And what's cool is you can get this thing to go around and around and around and around with no movement whatsoever. It's so skinny that if you just roll like you're rolling a booger, just like this thing rolls, but don't do it fast. Talking really slow, just like very slow. This is very, very pretty and a little bit eerie. You bring up the lighter, and then what happens is automatic. You start putting heat to the wire, and these suckers just transform little by little by little into the spade and the jack. And you milk this for all it's worth. I'm not going to present this to you right now. You've seen the presentations. This comes into this, boom, you got Jack of Spades. They freak out. You put it on the table. You show that they're all different. And at this point, you say, not only that, we were connected. You were on here like a pendulum, like a Ouija board, or whatever you want to call it. And you can say, very slowly, you picked the card. They were this far apart from each other. They were face down. They were shuffled. What do you land on? They turn the card over. Boom, Jack of Spades. And you would think this would be enough of a freak zone. This puts them over the top for some reason. This is just great because it's eerie that you went like this, free choice, and they forget you even touched them. And then you have yourself a miracle. And that is Wiregram Extreme.